The date is the 19th of May 2025. We are now on our 34th Tawheed Halaqah, Volume 2, page 150, Chapter 17, Proofs Underpinning Muhammad ﷺ being the Messenger of Allah. Everything which is absent from us in our time, in other words, that which we did not hear, did not bear witness to, or that which has occurred prior to us, cannot be known or determined except through information that has been reported to us. The report which is Tawatur, namely that which is multiple and continuously recurrent, is by necessity knowledge which is necessary and established. There is no escape from knowledge which is transmitted by Tawatur, lest doubt enters into that which doesn't reach that threshold. Should doubt enter into the manner such as by way of the question prior to us were human beings from the progeny of Adam or not, knowledge such as this is not known except by way of the report reaching the threshold of Tawatur. To doubt this concept results in the collapse of necessary reason. One falling into that trap ends with those lacking mental capacity, resulting in no serious discourse or dialogue taking place. Concerning the nature of that which is textually recurrent as Tawatur, it relates to the transmission of a number whose collusion in seeking to fabricate such an instance becomes impossible. That is to its uppermost limit in terms of what falls within the bounds of perception. In other words, meaning what the bearer of news could reliably transmit from among those narrating it, as if being present and witnessing it firsthand by perception, sight, or hearing. With regards to concurrence upon a particular viewpoint or belief that doesn't fall within the bounds of the present definition, that Ijma or consensus as such holds no value, nor does it substantively prove anything. It is not part of the categorization of Tawatur. As for the matter of Tawatur, it is a matter of transmission reaching a definitive level, providing a witness or attestation by sight, hearing, and perception also. Nothing more. Thus, Tawatur, the matter of the continuously recurrent transmission, is what is described above, which ends with what can be sensed. That ends with testimony built upon sight and hearing, even perhaps by other senses too. Accordingly, by way of this definition, throughout the ages of mankind, there have been people who have made claim to their people to have had a direct message and warning from Allah, the creator of all existence. He has ordered them to warn their people with his divine order and to follow what he is instructing them with. In turn, when they are asked to provide proof or evidence to substantiate their claim that they were advancing, they performed unusual and strange acts that appeared to manifestly be at odds with the natural order of the world as known. None can confirm or imitate it except by the express command of the creator of all existence. He creates whatever he wishes. Some examples of this are turning an inanimate stick into a snake, dividing the sea in front of a great number of people in order for them to pass and to drown whoever followed them while they were being pursued by a great army led by a tyrannical despot. Resurrecting the dead after the individual has been deceased for several days, most which means that the corpse has begun to already rapidly decompose. Curing the blind, producing a she-camel alive from flesh and blood, which eats and drinks and gives milk from out of a lifeless solid piece of rock. A man that was thrown into a blazing fire, yet wasn't burned and emerged unscathed. Hundreds of people being fed from a single measure of corn, and a fountain of water flowing from a single hand that managed to quench the thirst of an entire army. Hence, it was established by necessity that Allah the Almighty bore witness to the miracles that these individuals brought forth to their people. This demonstrated the veracity and authenticity of what those individuals were reporting from him, and that he the Almighty provided the affirmation to the words they uttered. The proof that underpins prophethood does so too for the message that the prophet conveys. In other words, meaning that it is originating with Allah, the creator of the universe and all mankind. The signs, therefore, that the Prophet brings establishes the proof for the one who has sent him, thus, in an instant, establishing the existence of the sender in origin. By way of this, it dispenses the immediate requirement of setting out the proofs for the existence of the Creator, the blessed and exalted. Prophethood as a whole provides both sets of proof with immediacy, but to reiterate, the evidences which prove and substantiate the matter of prophethood, together with its message, provide cogent proof of the existence of the Creator that sent that prophet, Allah the Almighty. Objections to this that were posited by some philosophers in relation to these cogent rational proofs seem to only concern the limits of rationality with the concept of time and space. Such objections aren't fatal. Prophethood and its message provide the conclusive evidence of the divine entity who has sent it, the sender. That message provides proof about his attributes and nature. All praise is given to Allah the Exalted, who has given us abundant evidence showing his existence. There is no other God except him. Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib al-Hashimi al-Qurayshi is the final messenger sent by Allah to all of mankind and the jinn. Proofs underpinning the veracity of his prophet are indeed
Let's
many.
stop here, just make a comment. So this is a general statement at the beginning, a general philosophical statement. So Tawatur prove the things which we have not seen or attended personally, but all these miracles, they are definitely there for the people who are attending them. The people who were there when the sea was split, they see it, they perceive it. And not only one, many people. If you are doubting that you are seeing or you are dreaming, you can ask other people, you can ask people who drowned and escaped drowning and so on. And then you come to certitude that what you have seen is a reality, is not your imagination, you are not in a state of dream. Now, if such a miracle happens, which does not fit in there, at that time at least, does not, maybe today we can split that by nuclear explosion, which is very unlikely, but let us say at that time, the level of technology and so on does not allow that accessible to the people. And also there is no spaceship in space which can split the sea. Some people say if external civilization has brought these religions and so on, but there's no report about anything in it. So those who talk about this, the pyramids are built by some extraterrestrial, they refer like 7,000-8,000 years back, not the time of Musa. So all of this is to be excluded. So there's something which is supernatural, which we have seen, the people present there now. But all what you need to see, this supernatural, and the man claims is he sent by the creator of the universe. Now that there is a possible creator of the universe or not, you just need to say it is a possibility. There may be a creator, maybe it's a dead, blind nature. These two options, the only one really remain in any rational discourse. Now this guy claims that the creator of the universe is a mindful being, etc. That his mind is perfect. That's it. That can be concluded later, but at least that's the one who created the universe and give it a structure and system, and he can break the system. So if you assert yourself, you are present at the seaside and you see the splitting of the sea, for example, then this proves for you that the possibility of creator is now established as being not a possibility by necessity. We see his action. Secondly, the man who claimed he sent by him must be truthful because this one who sent him testified that for him. And the message he brought is the one sent, the sender has sent to him. And by necessity, since the creator is absolute, above lying and so on, truthful, it must be true. So it proves all these things in one go. You don't need to go the complication of space and time and necessarily existing and all these complicated analysis of time series and so on. You don't need that. Prophethood will give you that. The problem with for all these miracles in time past, that at the current time, when we are writing that, we are writing in the 21st century. Nobody around is doing such miracles. But we have reports that they happened in time past. Now the question, can we rely on the reports? Are they narrated to us in multiply corroborating, multiply recurrent and so on by Tawatur, what's called in Arabic Tawatur? report after report independently. It's impossible that it would be fabricated. Clearly, the Christian scripture and the Jewish scripture, the only ones that are of relevance, clearly they claim to be written by divine inspiration, but examining this shows it is impossible. They have internal contradiction. So they cannot be written by that. And there's no way to certify by following the isnad back, even simple isnad, let alone multiple corroborating evidences that they go to the time of Isa to eyewitness statement. They may be, maybe not. There's no certitude about that. There's no certitude about that. Not like what we are certain that there was a Second World War and there was firebombing of Dresden and so on. We can see it. We see the papers reporting that. We still have some papers in archive, and still we have maybe people who, I myself met people who were in Dresden in the 60s, and they were still, they survived. Maybe now barely anyone is around, but their children are around and they can report about their fathers, and there are plenty of them. So multiple corroborating report. But can we do the same going back to the time of Isa and the reported miracles? No. So we cannot have a certitude that these miracles happened. They could be fabricated or someone invented them and so on. I'm not telling you that they are, but it could be. We don't have certitude. The same with, even worse with Musa. Because all what they have is Jewish scripture, we can follow them back relatively well transcribed until maybe 2 centuries before Christ. Yeah. Like 200 BC or something like that. But earlier than that, the Jews report that they have collected things maybe 300, 400 years before Christ. But before that, we don't know how it's collected, who kept it. And we know also from Jewish history, and also corroborated by Ashurian and Babylonic records, that they have been invaded and the country have been destroyed several times, and their temple has been destroyed, and most likely their books and literature has been burned down. So there's no connected chain, not even a connected chain, let alone multiple corroborating connected chains. So it is very well possible that Musa is just an imaginary figure and a mythical figure. In the case of Isa, it's very difficult to argue that, although some so-called modern scholars claim he never existed and so on. I think this is going overboard, but at least the question can be put on the table. In the case of Musa, it's much more difficult, even worse than Isa. Because Isa, we can trace back literature and so on up to the beginning of the second Christian century. And if we trust that the writing of Paul are really coming from the 1st century, but it's also not reliable, because the first collection are the Marcion collection and they are the 2nd century. So there's also a gap of 1 century. In a century, plenty of fabrications that can happen. Just watch nowadays, how much fabrication can be done in 5-10 years, and lies and so on. So we don't have any established. That's the problem with Judeo-Christian one. The same with Hindu literature. It's very clear. It's clearly mythical and imaginary and so on, and internally contradictory. So they are not divine inspiration, and there's no chain connecting them to the alleged times in time past. The rest is just imagination, myths, legends. The difference between a myth is that something completely invented, has not even a seed of truth. Legend is a more important historic personality, maybe a king, but it was embellished and they became like a son of God or became coming from heaven and things. That's embellishment. But the man really existed as a man or as a person, was an ancient king. But anything else about him is legendary, is invention and imagination. So legendary or mythical. And the same with the Chinese, if you so. Nowhere in the world there's any report about now we switch over to Muhammad. There's nowhere in the world any report with connected chain to the founder mentioning his miracles or his scripture and books and so on, connected and multiply corroborating or self-corroborating by other means to any person in history in any really reliable way who claim prophethood, not other persons. With Genghis Khan, we have evidences overwhelming. Chinese evidences, Islamic evidences, Russian evidences for his armies and so on, even the names of his commander. That's so recorded for so many nations. That's impossible that this all that had been invented. There's no way. This is definitely well-established recorded history, no doubt about that. But we are not interested in just history. What we're interested is that someone who claiming prophethood and claiming he has a message from the divine. That's what we are scrutinizing now. No person is, for the current time now can be asserted that he existed and he has his scripture and so on going to him, and plenty of reports multiply corroborating going to him, at least the general structure of his life and stations and so on, except Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How? For example, the Quran is memorized by millions, if over millions, going to tens of thousands at the time of the Prophet. But also we have script from that time. The Birmingham manuscript, the carbon dating itself physically from that time. And we have the Sana'a manuscript goes at least to the time of Walid al-Malik. That's 50, 60 years after the Prophet. And many other manuscripts which have been unfortunately not yet checked, dated, and so on, because it's in the custody of Azhar and other people who are just mentally backward. They did not do anything in this direction. They are relying on the multiple corroboration, which is reliable, but carbon dating will add extra flavor on that. So we know that this man existed and he brought this Quran. And some of the general reports about him are known by Tawatur, or in the text of the Quran itself, which is going back to him with certitude and to his time with certitude. So if we have that, that's the one we have to study. All others, unfortunately, they will not bring us any reliable certitude. Can easily be attacked. Look at, for example, the gospel, full gospel. They have clearly, in certain areas, they contradict each other in such a way that you cannot harmonize them in any way possible. Some people try to attempt to harmonize and so on, but if you look at it, cannot be, it's not possible that all of them are divinely inspired. Oh, anyway, the issue of divine inspiration is just a joke. It's just a myth to persuade the simple-minded people to accept. And this has collapsed. Even the church admits now. The church, the Catholic Church, admits they have scholars who criticize the scripture and so on, and study the level of authenticity and so on. The same with the Jews. There are still some Jewish rabbis fiction saying they have the tradition of Musa, oral tradition, and these books are written, the 5 first books are written by Musa, which is blatantly impossible. You just read it plainly. So that's out of question. So the only one, any candidate whatsoever in the world now is this one. And this one has to be scrutinized. Any other one is a waste of time. Whatever you do, you must rely on some blind faith. You trust that these have been written by divine protection. How to prove that? There's no proof. There's a counter proof in the text itself. Or you say this is actually a connected chain and it's written just one generation, especially Paul writing is the same generation of Isa. But even this guy did not meet him, so he's reporting few things he might experience, and the rest, God knows if that's his own point of view, imagination, or dreams. He himself reports about dreams, which are highly questionable. I mean, he might have that dream, but it's a dream. How reliable is that dream? And he never claimed to be infallible or have a prophethood, which Einstein's never brought any real miracles, again, multiply corroborated, reported. So we can say, oh, his dreams are real dreams and valid dreams, divinely inspired. No. So we go to a dead end, unless we follow blind faith and just a tradition of the church over almost 2,000 years. That's all what it is. And even that tradition is partly fabricated. They claim, for example, that the apostles have the so-called Apostolic Creed, but everyone knows, even the church knows, that a document called the Apostolic Creed is a fabrication. It's made after the Nicene Conference in the 4th century or the 5th century. To claim that what the apostle believed is essentially the Nicene Creed, which is utterly absurd, because all pre-Nicene fathers did not have or most of them did not have a strict Trinity. They have so-called subordination. That Isa, there was some time, even a short time, he did not exist. So he's a created being, not of divine substance. That's what all the fathers in the first, second century essentially say. whose writing is in our hand. Essentially, all of them, and even the 3rd century, with few exceptions. Only the 4th century, then the balance tipped to a minority of the Trinitarian. So we have this is all now on the table on research. So nothing can be ascertained there. So the only one who should be studied to say if there's any any possible prophethood is Muhammad.
Professor.
Yeah.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Professor. So, I mean, okay, the prophecy of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is well established, but think about it. It's well established inside the
No. We got come to that.
domain.
We're going to discuss that. We did. I just give you a general frame, philosophical frame.
Yes,
I'm
because
not discussing the evidence of prophethood yet.
no, but going back to the fact that it is well established that there was a prophet called Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
No. What we have until now, a man claimed to be a prophet and producing something called Quran.
Okay, yes, because I was going to point out that indeed some external sources like Byzantine or some Armenian, they spoke about a guy in Arabia called Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
That's part of the history. That's part of the history. Yeah.
Sure, no problem about that. But none of these external sources came to visit Arabia and saw the miracles of Prophet ﷺ. So we don't have external sources for the
No.
prophet.
It doesn't matter. We'll go bit by bit. Go step by step. First, his existence. Where the Quran is in our hand, and we go build bit by bit.
You know, because Western academics, they say without external sources, we cannot
No,
really talk
why not
Islamic
external sources? Internal sources also valid if they are fulfilling the condition of multiply corroborated evidences.
Mm,
It has to be. There's no other way.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go through it, inshallah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's not an issue. External sources to prove that he existed and so on. The people were aware about that.
Yes, indeed. There are reports from foreign
Yeah, they're
individuals.
various.
Yes.
Various reports. Various reports. We know that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that's in itself also not relevant. It's part of the whole picture. The internal reports are themselves clear and supportive.
No, but think about it. I mean, you just mentioned about the written parchments of Quran, Birmingham.
Yeah. That's part of it, but that's not all of it.
Okay.
That's the fact that Islam exploded out of Arabia and defeated the Roman Empire, and we have recorded in the Roman Empire that they were defeated in Yarmouk. And
yes,
how they were slaughtered
but
and
some
so on.
academics, that's very simple. Some academics would say that that's by zealot. You know, like Daesh, they are not.
No. But Daesh was initiated by a founder called Muhammad Abdul Wahab, and he refers to a religion before that. It has to have a root. It doesn't come from heaven.
Okay,
I understand.
I understand, but my
point. No. Even if you understand, no. An army comes out and defeats the Roman Empire must have root somewhere in Arabia. What is the root? All of them claim they have a prophet and they're fighting for the cause of that prophet.
But not necessarily. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, it's necessary. How come they came together? Did they have a conference inside Arabia and agreed that we will lie to the world that there's a prophet came to us?
I mean, many other nations in history were scattered around, and they got like Mongols. Is Genghis Khan prophet? No, he's just a great leader.
No. But it's Genghis Khan who unified them.
Yes, I understand you. So
the guys who came in Yarmouk said we are following a prophet called Muhammad.
Where is his evidence? He doesn't have like an external.
They said that all of them.
But Abu Mahab, I think you need to differentiate between a claim and the veracity of the claim. So what you're saying is that if they, for example, said Kermit the Frog sent us, and every single one of them said Kermit the Frog sent us.
The other was saying external evidence. They say these came out, defeated the Romans, and somehow they have a conference in Arabia. Tribe came together, say we want to defeat the Roman, conquer the world, but we have to invent a person called Muhammad who did not exist. That's not possible. There's no way to get tribe to come together. There must be someone leading them. Maybe he's a liar. That's you can say. There's an imposter who cheated you. But someone must exist there. Must be some root initiating that.
Yes, and that's I'm not denying that there was like a leader called Muhammad alayhi
We
salatu
come to the evidences later then, but he existed and he was there and he established this movement.
Abu Muhammad, think about this conceptually yourself, bruv. This is quite basic, yeah? Which is, someone makes a claim, you know the phrase, there's no smoke without fire? There's fire there somewhere. What the source is, what the nature of the fire, we haven't established yet. That will come later. If someone says he's a prophet, take Mirza Ghulam. We know Mirza Ghulam is not a prophet, but we know his followers claimed it. We know that, say there's 100 million of them. We know that 100 million can't sit in a room and fabricate a story to say he's actually.
And the man never existed. That's what we want to prove first.
Yeah. So
the Western people claim we cannot prove his existence. That's a problem.
Okay.
That's a problem. Later on, we come to the prophethood, bit by bit, step by step.
Okay,
so you're step by step. The reason people break their leg because they don't go step by step in a rational discourse.
Okay.
That's the point first.
Yes.
There was a man in Arabia, all evidences, including his own Quran, claiming that he's illiterate. If he was not illiterate and his Quran claimed otherwise, the people would have killed him next day. You are a liar and we know that you are right. That's very clear. All these things are internal corroborating. There's no escape from that. There's no escape from that. Then we build on that, then later the evidence that he is a prophet. But he existed, that he was illiterate, that he was in Mecca and moved to Medina. This is beyond doubt.
Yes, the existence of him is well established.
Even the main station of his life are well established. By Quran and also by report of his follower.
Okay.
In addition, his follower, just in the same generation, essentially, the younger one of them still surviving until the year 50, 60 after Hijrah, they fought and they were 2-3 camps and they have conflict. They never disagreed when the people of Sham put the mazahif on the spears. Did anyone in Iraq say this is not the mushaf we have? No. It's the same mushaf. Nobody discussed that. It was plainly obvious. Although they were killing each other in scores and tens of thousands. Think about that. Put that all together. That's how multiple corroborating history is narrated. The skeleton. The detailed story that Muawiyah said that and this guy said that maybe can be contested. But the general picture is very clear.
No, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. But I'm just trying to be critical of the fact that even if there's like a corroboration from the Sahaba that no one disagreed about Mus'haf, maybe a Western academic come after a century or like a millennia claiming that the one who won the fight, they have written the history.
No, because we have the Mus'haf al-Shami separately and it was in Damascus all the time. And the Mus'haf al-Kufi was in the hand of the Kufi who lost the war. And the Mus'haf in Medina in the hand of the Madani who were confronting Muawiyah and confronting his son Yazid. So many things there, so many bits put together. You cannot overcome that. That's Tawatur. There's some donkey in Berlin claim he can make history. I don't believe unless I see a piece of bone or a rock with inscription. That's a donkey. We don't need to deal with these people. They ultimately end being jokers.
You know, I'm thinking about it just like the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. There is no established archaeological evidence like a written or inscription.
You don't need archaeological. That's the problem. You don't need archaeological evidence. Even from Muhammad, you don't need. Although we have his grave, generation of generation, uninterrupted. Everyone knows that he's buried there, and everyone come from far away and is spotted everywhere, and everyone visited the grave. Almost everyone who came in Hajj and report that.
Again, I'm not trying to disagree with you. I'm just trying to be critical.
No, but I disagree. What is the objection is an empty objection. It contradicts history. Otherwise, we cannot ascertain that we have grandfathers. But we know by necessity, biologically, that we have grandfathers, even if we don't their names.
Sure, but think about it. If a generation of people kept repeating an act, anything like saying
not act. Report what they have seen, not a belief.
Okay, fine, but the later generation will report
they are mistaken. They are mistaken because they do not scrutinize.
You know how in like you always mention it when the inscription of Egypt, they one of the pharaohs, he deleted Akhenaton or someone who
But it
was
is
a
recorded
monotheist,
elsewhere.
who was a
But
monotheist.
it is recorded elsewhere.
Abu Wahab, I think something like this.
Come
You
on,
have
Abu
to look at
Wahab,
the.
Wahab. It's such triviality was that these people in the West, they are mentally sick. They are not correct.
Mm.
Also,
No,
just
I'm with you. I'm just
let's
trying to be
no,
critical. I'm
we
just
need
trying
No,
to
no,
bring
it's
all
not
of this.
critical. That's not critical. This is mentally deranged. These people
Okay.
say, prove that you have a great grandfather.
Mm.
Most people will not. Most people will not have. They will not even know even his grave.
Mm.
But
there's a
definitely
phrase.
has a great grandfather.
There's a phrase. It's pick a lane or pick a narrative. Yeah.
Because we have so many evidences that the dunya did not start just 6-7 years ago. It's going at least, the humanity is going at least for, let's say, 500 generations, at least, based on bone records and the archaeology and so on, generally. So, but for you specifically, you must have a great grandfather. Where is he? What's his name? We don't know, but he exists.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Abu Wahab,
obvious.
Abu Wahab,
You may even doubt that your great grandfather is this guy because you may have been picked up, someone dumped you at the door of a mosque, maybe, or your grandfather was dumped at a mosque. So he's not his son, but he covered up and adopted that one to
No,
cover.
I mean that's very, very obvious that no one would
The same
dispute
here.
that.
The same is there. For God's sake.
Abu Wahab, it's
Even
good to
more there.
Doc, it's good to be critical. I think this is the fundamental point here, which is with the pharaoh and things like that. There isn't necessarily an unbroken chain of there's not an unbroken chain of events that you can verify. So there's one question about verification. So, for example, major events that happen, for example, engagement with the Romans, composing parties,
And with the
narrating
Persian Empire disappearing.
Yeah, so these are physical phenomena. The other thing is, the idea of picking a lane. So when people are trying to make a rebuttal, they're on the one hand, for example, the doc gives the example of either Muhammad Sallallahu is a super genius, or at the same time is
That's another issue that we discuss based on the whole message and so on. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, just in terms of like picking a narrative that fits. In terms of if you make
no, leave that. We are going now. We are just said the existence. He's discussing the existence only. They claim that this for Muhammad specifically, even for Isa, is not acceptable. Even although all what we have is doing the code, but we have some apocrypha, and we have a mention which is questionable in Josephus' history, which people doubt.
Is it? Here's another one, Sheikh. William Lane Craig and
so it may have some kind of a historic root.
But for example,
a core there at least.
Sheikh, when the Christians, for example, talk about the crucifixion, they say about the number of. Obviously, we have a different take on what happened, the events of the crucifixion.
No. This is what about the crucifixion? Tell me what they say.
In terms of like a man was crucified and then he came back alive.
No. Let's divide the issue over there. A man was crucified. That's agreed by everyone at that time.
Mm-hmm. And then
the man was announced unknown to the people who say to be Isa. He appeared to be Isa.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Tawatur. Everyone knew.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue that he was resurrected or not resurrected was going on. That's obviously the existing four gospels. They contradict each other. They don't have a consistent story.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to separate the two.
But even for us, it doesn't change anything for us because ultimately, as far as we're concerned,
I'm talking about history. Don't go for us. Don't go. We don't go. We don't have.
What I'm saying is,
that's the mistake. We don't have us yet. We're going history.
What I'm trying to say is that there is nothing that diverges. That we're even as believers now. We've accepted the belief.
No. Leave that. We'll come to that, inshallah, in due course if needed.
What I'm saying is,
but what the people reported, there was one crucified. He looks like Isa. Everyone present say he's Isa, the one who knows him. And many know him. He was campaigning for several years. He's not a non-entity. So it appeared to be Isa. We may know from supernatural reason that he's not Isa. Someone took his shape. That's something else. Which we need the supernatural proof. But publicly, that's what's seen. That that person was taken down and buried or not buried and went out of the grave, all the reports are contradicting each other, bringing the biggest possible doubt.
Professor, I will say this. I mean, I will end with this one. But even if the Christian sources are contradicted, think about it. They came to consensus on the on one point. I mean, they all agreed that he is
What's the
somehow God.
point?
That he is somehow a God. No one
No,
disagreed.
No. That's irrelevant. That's point of view. You cannot smell a God or touch a God or know a God. It was a man in front of them.
So the metaphysical aspect being a divine.
That is not witness. That's not multiple corroborative. That's an agreement on a point of view. You can't. Opinions can agree on the wrong point of view.
That in Nicaea,
that we said in the advances. There's not an agreement on a point of view.
Okay, so that one has to be discussed metaphysically.
That's something else.
Okay. Not based on historical facts, based on metaphysical aspects.
Or other rational arguments.
So, you know, Sheikh Taki, for example, he uses the example.
You cannot claim that they have seen God and touched God and seen Him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a metaphysical aspect. So if they have something, they need
metaphysical, not metaphysical. It's not something you can see and touch. That's end of sense. Multiple correlating reports, is that what you see or hear?
Okay, is witnessing essentially.
Witnessing, ending with a witness statement.
Okay.
Beliefs and so on, other assumption are not witness statement.
And at such a volume that it's impossible to fabricate. That's the fundamental thing. So witness
and the number and so on, or supporting extra evidence. Maybe two persons we know with certainty because of other issues that they did not meet together and decided to fabricate together. That will be multiple corroborating evidences. Although it's rare to assert that for two, but if we have hundreds, that's impossible that they will meet.
Because mathematically impossible for people. It's just
like the army who defeated the Romans after a battle in Yarmouk, and they defeated them before that in Ajnadin and made a killing worse than the one in Yarmouk. But Yarmouk was the final one. That's the reason Yarmouk is mentioned big. But actually, the back of the Romans was broken in Ajnadin. They lost more than in Yarmouk, but they still have something remaining. And they were made the final assault in Yarmouk and was resoundingly defeated. And the people fighting with them say, we have a messenger and you refuse to allow the messenger to talk to the people, and you started aggression, and we are fighting you because of that specifically. That's it. And the messenger is called Muhammad. And there's a letter that has this Quran, and the Quran is here. You can see it. It's here, right? In our hand. All say that. It's not conceivable that they met in a conference in Arabia and decided to invent a story. There must be some man. Is he really a messenger or not? That's not that. That's what has to be asserted by rational proof.
Okay.
Because if you meet someone claiming to be a messenger, you don't smell that he's a messenger. You don't see that he's a. You see he's a man claiming that, and you hear he is claiming.
Whether it's right, true, or false,
that's something else. That's evidence.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
Come on, Abu Muhammad. I thought this matter is finished and settled and clear to every Muslim.
No. As I said, I just want you to clarify for the audience. I know most of these. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just bringing them.
No, you can't disagree. Good reason for disagreeing, but these triviality, basic things of necessity of reason. Otherwise, we cannot know anything about history.
Yes, there's a historian, Tom something. He's a British historian. He uses these critical points that I'm using here. So I'm just projecting his point of view. I know it's
that's not critical point. This is mental derangement. The difference between criticism and mental derangement. Yeah.
Tom Holland. He's a well-known anti-Islamist British.
Not only this one, also the Berliner school and so on.
Berlin
school. The difference between someone who is critical on really respect of Russia ground or someone who is sniffing cocaine.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We'll continue.
Consuming magic mushrooms. There's a difference.
Yes, indeed. Okay, Jazakallah khair. We'll continue. Inshallah.
So that's just for this introduction. You can scan in history anyone claim. You go to India, go to China. That's where some people assume to be philosophers or founder of religion and so on. Obviously, Buddhism the history is dark. We don't know what Buddha really was all about. Was he a prophet? Did he claim prophethood? Did he claim divinity? Most likely, he was a wise man. And the follower did attribute to him certain things, and they are definitely various schools. The one school is essentially a nihilist school. They don't believe even there's a divinity, something like karma and things like that. Very, very strange things, which just nothingness. Everything came out of nothingness. And another one that Buddha is a divine being. And other who are polytheists, they believe there are various divine beings, Buddha. And maybe you will find some Hindus who say Buddha is actually an manifestation of Vishnu, like Krishna and so on. You will find some people constructing something like that. We don't know. In history, there's not enough history about the man known of any reliable way with correct isnad. The same with the Hindu books. They may go for 1,500 years, yes, maybe, but clearly they are in contradiction to each other, and the oldest one of them are clearly monotheistic, have nothing to do with the idols. So they may go back to Ibrahim. We don't know. That's maybe where the word Brahman came, the follower of Ibrahim, and some of them was mutilated over us. Maybe we don't know. That's all speculative. We have not enough material and information. The only one we have enough material and information is Islam, because of the Quran itself, because of the victory of Islam immediately at the time of Prophet and after, in time of Prophet, he unified all Arabia without any doubt. That's beyond doubt historically. And after that, he demolished the Persian Empire completely and squeezed the Roman Empire to the corner of Anatolia. That's it. And this is all recorded in various places. Although they were meticulously trying to reduce the record as much as even John of Damascus attacks Islam, say these Ismailites, they lie about Adam and so on, claim that there is an Iblis and he orders sujood. All this is not true because the Old Testament say otherwise. So he preferred the Old Testament over that of Muhammad because he believed Muhammad is an imposter. Was the case fine. But he never denied that this is from Muhammad and so on. The Ismailites, they are wrong. And there's no way the grandchildren of a slave woman can compete with the grandchildren of a free woman. That's the reason they call the Muslims elevated, the Saracens, the slaves of Sarah. Saracen meaning the slaves of Sarah, because their mother Hajar was a slave of Sarah and she gifted him to. All of that's historical in their books. So that's history is well established historically. The question now, is it true or not? Is that claim true or not? That needs to be analyzed. Okay? But this is general introduction. So we don't need to be intimidated by saying, oh, the Bible says this one. The Bible itself is internally contradictory. It's not divine. It's not divinely inspired. We cannot rely on it. Somewhat may be divinely inspired, some bits. Some bits are pure fabrication. Some a little bit embellished, some complete, and then considerable portion has been hidden and relegated to the so-called Apocrypha. And the majority are hidden. They have a statement from Ezra, the priest, who allegedly the one who started collecting things after the Babylonian exam. He says there are 70-something, let us say 76 books. 20 plus, I don't remember the number, 26, 27, are in the public domain, and the rest are only for the initiated, for the special ones, for the priests, for the scholars, not for us donkeys. This is the Apocrypha, the hidden books. The statement of the priest. Majority are hidden. What are these hidden? We don't know. Some are available and there are some fragments here and there, but because they are kept only by the priest, they can claim whatever they want is the content. Some have been kept in the public domain by leaking, by things like that, but again, they are vastly different than what we have in the public domain. And everyone can say, oh, these from the hidden books. We don't know if they're true or not. But there's no guarantee that they have divine protection. The only divine protection is the public ones. And the public ones are internally contradictory. And they say the isnad is munqata. The maximum the Jews can go is maybe to the legendary collection, which happened maybe 3-4 centuries before Christ. Nowhere going to Musa with isnad. And the story of the collection, they have a story that a prophet was present and he directed the collection. Who is this prophet? What's his name? Where he belongs? Allah. It's an imaginary story. They added a bit of spice to make it divinely protected, which is not. For the Christian situation, is just somehow the church declared this is divinely inspired. The Holy Spirit was there whispering in the people. And you see the picture, usually one of the writer of the Gospels sitting, and the white dove is sitting on his shoulder and whispering in his ears. The white dove is the Holy Spirit. And such funny representations. That's all what they have. Any real evidence? No. Counter evidence? Tons of them. Just read in the same book, there are internal contradiction. And between the books are blatantly clear contradiction. So that's it. So the only one which has some material, at least some solid material in hand, is Muhammad alayhi salam. Now we have to study what about this man, how it works. That's it. See the evidences. As historicity is established, that someone claim it is an imaginary figure, or people made a secret conference somewhere in a closed room in which several hundreds of tribal chieftains agreed that the best way to conquer these empires is to invent a man called Muhammad and so on. This is laughable. That someone have been smoking most like a bad stuff or sniffing bad cocaine. It doesn't happen by rational human beings. It's simply impossible. And these tribes were several thousand years fighting against each other for thousands of years, never dared even going outside or have any effect in the world history. Excluded there, included there, never going out. And suddenly they go out. Something must have happened. What's this something? They report this and this. And they produce a book. And you can't carbon date it. That's just simply impossible to deny that it's a historical fact. All what you can't deny, it is connected to the heaven. That's another issue. Yes, that's another issue. So this is the general introduction. That's the way to go. And no one should be accepted the claim that this is only internal evidence. External evidence must be accepted. Why? What's the difference between external and internal? If it's internal, it's fulfilling the condition of the proper reporting, provides report, ending with the witness statement, which can be witnessed by the senses, not by point of view, not by speculation, by the senses.
By Tawatur, essentially.
And no, Tawatur is multiple corroboration, but ending with a witness statement. We can say there's Tawatur between the Christians since the 4th century, essentially, that they believe in Trinity. It doesn't mean Trinity is true or wrong. It's the only Tawatur that mentions that it was really prevalent point of view in the 4th century. That's all that it proves. It was the prevalent point of view. That's it. Because all writers and all documents show that the Trinity was the standard point of view at the time. That's all that it shows. The Tawatur. That all people agree that it was. Yeah, in the 4th century, it was the prevalent point of view. Is it correct point of view? Is it related to Christianity? Is it related to the devil? We don't know. That's something else. And we know from the reports also that it was declared to be the correct creed in the Nicene. Before that, they were some Trinitarian, but they were the minority. In the Nicene conference, they actually not the full Trinity, only half of it, and they added the other half of the Holy Spirit in the Constantine War. This is actually a Nicene Constantinopolitan creed in the 381. The first part in 325 and the second part in 381. Then you could see the creed has been completed in the usual formulation. We believe in the Father, the Creator of everything, the controller of everything, and so on, and His Son, etc., and the Holy Spirit. And that's in 381, completed, and which they say they share the same substance, homoousios union, or something like that. That's completed. That's a historic fact. We're not denying that. It happened in these conferences, we cannot deny, because the people attended the conferences and wrote about it. It's a historic fact. But is the content valid or invalid? Is true or not true? That is narrated by Tawatur that they believed, and that does not mean that the belief is correct or false. It was the belief at that time and written in documents, yes. That's what Tawatur proves. Nobody doubts that. But the content itself, who cares? Maybe true, maybe false. Has to be scrutinized on its own ground. Yeah. So the first stage, asserting something, ending with the sense, with the senses. Then going to the content, that if it's having a certain content, like the man Isa who was walking and doing these miracles, claimed to be doing the miracles. Is the narration really reliable? That you say he was doing the miracles. The problem is the narration are not sufficiently well established so that we can assert that these miracles have been done. That's the problem. If it can be asserted, then we are immediately confronted with the issue of divine support and so on. Then we go the next stage. But unfortunately, for all others, we don't have anything. In the case of Muhammad, we have at least the Quran text is in our hand. That's the minimum, and we build from there. Okay, that's a way to build things systematically, the correct way. The hocus pocus way, jumping around and talking about internal corroboration that he existed, not existed, is a joke. Even for Isa, existed is a joke. I would say it's a joke. The available evidence shows that a man definitely existed, and definitely the same man as apparent to the people, as he appears to the people, was crucified. That someone else took his shape. This is a miraculous event. It needs a proof from revelation. Only the Quran can prove that. Before the Quran, nobody is blamed to believe that he died on the cross. It's very perfectly possible, no problem. The only one who can be blamed in anything in that case is that the belief that he died for the sins of the world. That needs proof. Otherwise, it's just a murder. Before him, tons of prophets have been executed and killed. Even in his time, John the Baptist, Yahya was killed. So what's the fuss? Prophets have been killed. Isaiah have been killed. Most prophets have been killed. Barely anyone escaped. Bani Israel. There's nothing special. He's martyred. He's martyred on the cross. The problem, making it atonement, that's the problem invented by Paul. That's the catastrophe. Not the crucifixion itself. Crucifixion is not a problem. This is not a problem. You see my point? The difference between one side and the other side. The interpretation is the problem there, not the crucifixion itself. But there's another issue. We'll come to it, inshallah, if needed. We came, I think, to it in when we discussed Surah Al-Ma'idah and Surah Al-Nisa and so on. We discussed that.
Okay, continue with the text.
Okay, continue, yeah.
Okay, there is no
And
other.
now, so the only one really which is worth studying and putting real effort is Muhammad as-Salam. Even the people who don't like it, they don't like it, it's irrelevant. The facts are on the table, the information on the table. Whatever they do is not going to change the reality. The reality is there, physically available. You can touch it, at least in the form of Quran. Good? Carry on.
Okay, I'll finish the last paragraph of this section. Objections to this were posited by some philosophers in relation to these cogent rational proofs seem to only concern the
Yeah, I'm commenting on that. The rational proofs about the existence of a divine being is very complex and very deep, because you have first to show that a necessarily existing being must be there. Some people even doubting that, think everything can be contingent, showing that it's an impossibility, number one. Secondly, a necessarily existing being, at least one must exist. And then from the definition of self-reality, it's shown that only one can exist. So minimum of one, maximum of one, it must be one. Then there are only two options there. One is acting, is mindful, have mind, and acting with free will, because free will is only defined if you have a mindful being, a being who has a mind. Yeah? Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. There's nothing to say he does whatever he wants and he can abstain from doing. It's only if someone who understands and have a mind and something in some basic fundamental sense. So it's a person, is a free agent. And then obviously self-will dictatorship is absolutely free and with power, etc. But this is further development. Or it is a deaf, blind, dead nature. The second one, at least the cosmological proof says this could not be the origin of this universe, at least. As a matter of fact, I think an ontological proof you saw, it is impossible for such an entity to create any universe. Not only this one, anything. It can't create anything. It's like a dead stone staying for eternity in some place, creating nothing, doing nothing, which is manifestly absurd. Does not make any sense. So no reality can be spun by such an entity, whatever is this reality of this universe or any other possible universe. So it must be this free agent. This proof is solid, no doubt about that, but the problem is it's deep and very complex, and the common people will have difficulty. But issue with prophethood is very easy, especially if you are living in the time of the prophet. You see him with your own eyes, and you see the miracles with your eyes. And you have just to use your mind a little bit. It's not straightforward. It doesn't force compulsion. You have to overcome some of your biases, because you can easily say, oh, this guy is a first-class hypnotist. He fooled our eyes. He bewitched our eyes. He's a master trickster. He's using trickery. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's a con artist. All of these things can be objected to. But if you are honest and you look to things thoroughly, you recognize what's going on. The same within the challenge between Musa and, according to the Quran, we were not present. And the narration of Bani Israel itself is deficient with the magician. The magician immediately recognized what's going on. But Pharaoh insisted to stay arrogant. So he's your master and he is your boss and your teacher. And you have plotted that yesterday at night so that the people can leave the city. And how dare that you believe in him without my permission? So even America in front of you, you can't deny. You can find all kinds of excuses. But these excuses are invalid. And you will be defeated in a rational argument. And Yawm al-Qiyamah, you will be defeated. Because your argument is fallacy. You know it's a fallacy. You know deep inside it's a fallacy. Although some simpleton may believe the Pharaoh and follow him, but the real people who know, and the people should have seen what the magician have done, and should recognize these as a specialist. And they were just hostile to Musa moments before, and they sacrificed their life. They're willing to be crucified. Must be something substantial there. But I said, even these material miracles, someone can set all kinds of objection. Okay? But it's much easier in any case. The problem with these material evidences, these miracles like reviving a dead and so on, is that you have to be present there or you receive it by multiple corroborating evidences. For all the prophets, we did not receive them narrated in such a way that you can trust and rely upon. Certainly not. So it's only for the people of that generation. And the people who are even present. In that generation, yes, you may hear about it, and you double check and ask other people, another delegation, people who came, for example, from Egypt, who attended to this confrontation, and other people present at the crossing of the sea and so on. And you double check. We are living, for example, in Persia, and you double check all of these things. Oh, it's impossible. That's all fabricated. This man must be a prophet. A rational person in Persia will conclude that. No problem with that. But you have the witnesses, and they are living in that time, and they will just saw it for themselves. You don't have a long snout. It's easy. One generation, same generation, maybe second generation, maybe up to the third generation. After that, things get lost, and she get embellished and get exaggerated and so on. Not so for Muhammad, the only one remaining really now. Okay, so let's continue. So that's it. All these rational evidences for the existence of a divine are great and good, but we don't need them. If we can find the prophet and prove his prophethood to a level of certitude, then we don't need that. It's automatically, because claiming prophethood, being sent by a divine being, it must be a knowledgeable being, it must be a free agent. And he is the creator of the universe, it can be only one. That's part of the argument that the creator is only one and there's only one divine being. That part is easy, it's not a problem. It's easy. The problem is excluding the dead, blind, deaf nature. That's the problem. It's very deep and very complex and needs cosmology and things like that. But no need for that. Prophet will elevate all of that in one go. Okay, so can you complete the paragraph?
Sure.
That's the system. That's the approach I'm following. Prophethood, establishing a prophethood, establish automatically, or messenger would establish, because a prophet will not approach you because he's not a messenger. If he's a messenger, prophet, why necessity he's a prophet also. If he approaches you, say, I'm sent to you by Allah with his commands, then who your sender? Like Pharaoh said, who sent you? The Lord of the universe. Who is this Lord of the universe? Okay, is this and this and this. Okay, what is the message? Leave Bani Israel, come with me. Oh, no, we are not going to accept that. We are going to, you are a magician, show your evidence. Oh, we don't accept that. This is witchcraft. We'll get magician to defeat you. That's how it works for the one who denies. But one who wants to reach the truth and open-minded, he will get the truth in case of Musa, like the magician who have heard about the story, and they were disputing between themselves and discussing, is he really a prophet, is he not, and so on. And when you saw the things in front of them, they collapsed and were ready to die crucified on the palm trees. Okay, so that's this paragraph address this point. So a messenger proving that he is a messenger means automatically proving that he is sent by free agent, a God, not by a dead blind nation, but dead blind deaf nation cannot send anything, do anything, and he is the messenger, and the message is valid and must be truthful. All of this in one go by the same evidence, all connected in one package. It's a wholesale business, which is good. So for the majority of people, the best thing for the majority of common people, the street sweeper, the simple factory worker, addressing the prophethood and the evidence is much better than going to these complicated rational arguments. The rational arguments keep them for physicists, for philosophy, things like that, if needed. And as a reference between theologian and logician and mathematician. Yeah, that's okay. But not for the masses. For the masses, the prophethood is the way to go. And also it is more compelling. That's the reason I say, I'm not going to punish unless I send the messenger. Because this concludes things exclusively and finally. The other one is so deep and complex, not everyone has access to it. Okay, finish the paragraph. Flash.
Proofs underpinning the veracity of his prophethood are indeed many. Here in this chapter, some of the key proofs will be outlined. So the first one is the miraculous nature of the Quran. Undoubtedly, the miracle of the Quran is the greatest and most important of miracles. The text is transmitted by Tawatur, each letter and vowel. It is protected, preserved, and that extends to its recitation and pronunciation. The challenge went out widely, those disagreeing with it to try and produce something like thereof, mocking them in a manner full of rebuke and derision, that they will fail miserably in trying to do so. Indeed, they all failed in this endeavor. This miraculous challenge prevented all Arabs from producing its likeness. From beginning to end, is present in the text of the Quran in numerous instances. The challenge to produce this likeness was extended to all the jinn and mankind in general. Then it was affirmed that they could not do so, even if they supported each other. They failed in this endeavor and continue to fail, and they will remain unsuccessful until the day of judgment. It does not matter what the precise nature of this miracle entails, whether it is according to the intrinsic nature of the Quran itself, which is intrinsically inimitable, or because of Allah, by divine intervention, has thwarted them in any attempt. It does not matter because either of that is a miracle relative to the system of our present universe.
Because the classical scholar we're discussing is that miracle by sarfa, Allah make them unable to do it. Otherwise, it's not the language of it does not seem to be a miracle. It's very eloquent, but you could imagine someone be as eloquent as that. So Allah made it so that anyone trying to attempt, he will fail. Allah will make him fail by stepping in. That's miraculous by itself. Or it is in the composition and so on, not achievable. The Arabic language does not have enough other words and so on, other structure to bring anything similar to it, except just repeating the same. So you are just plagiarizing, like ChatGPT tried recently. Some people tried, and ChatGPT came في سورة إن أعطيناك الكوثر, and he said إن أعطيناك الكوثر again. So that's all what he could get, for example. So that's a possibility. But I don't care which one is the true one. That's a philosophical point you can argue until Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's irrelevant because this is miraculous and this is miraculous. This is miraculous intrinsically, that exhausted whatever the language can produce. So it's impossible in the language to do the same. And the other one is miraculous because it's the divine has to step and prevent everyone. The moment it comes in everyone's mind to try to do something like the Quran, Allah undermine his effort and make him fail. He may be the most eloquent man in the world. The moment he starts that, Allah make him stutter and collapse. That's also miraculous because that's not the normal course of things. Yeah. So settling that question is of no relevance. Some people think that's an important question. It's not an important question. If you get stuck with that too much, that's the devil playing with your mind. That's it. It's completely irrelevant, intrinsically or by sarfa, by diversion. Well, diversion is only possible by divine intervention.
Professor, I would also... Yes, go on, please.
Yes. Yeah. Carry on.
Yes, so I was going to mention something very interesting here is worth mentioning. Many anti-Islamists, when they say that the Quran is incoherent, it doesn't make sense. I mean, the story are not well connected. There's like gaps between each other. So to them, according to their understanding, that Quran should be treated like any other earthly book written by human being. But that's fundamental error because the i'jaz, the nature of Quran in itself is i'jaz, right? So the nature of Quran is that it's very unique. It is very different than any other book written by human beings. So of course it's going to look very different than the coherent book that you read inside the school.
I understand that, but the one they say coherent, stop there. What means coherent? Coherent means contradictory. Show me the contradiction. Don't let them go with the blubbery. That's first stage. Learn how to confront these people. They play that game incoherent. You usually say coherent, things fitting together nicely. Incoherent contradict each other. Get us, for example, the story of Musa.
Exactly.
Let's go. In the Quran, in various places. In some places, he begins the beginning of the story and the end of it. Sometimes the middle one. Sometimes skip certain portions. Show that there is contradiction. You cannot weave them in a correct order. That's number one. That will be incoherent. They cannot show because they fit in a correct order. Why it is made like that? There are many reasons for that. Not only the miracles, there are many reasons for that. If you look at it carefully, you see in certain places stress certain things to show clearly in such explicit details to show clearly that the story in the Old Testament is a fabrication. Like when when the Quran, we mentioned that case, when Allah sent Musa and Harun, say, talk to him softly, maybe he will remember or become God-fearing. Yeah, we discussed that in matter of qadar. In the Old Testament says, go to Fir'aun, I will harden his heart and he will reject. Quran shows this is a lie, is not true, and refutes, and that lie is made to support fatalism. This one demolish fatalism. So it has enormous value. And it's mentioned maybe only in one place in the Quran. That's enough. Another place, what happened to him being put in the crib with his mother and so on. Another place and so on. So show that there is a contradiction and then is incoherent. So the word coherent and incoherent is that if you will, it is not the style of a story like written by Stephen King, for example. Quran is not a story. Besides, the story of Yusuf is essentially a story, but also only the highlights. It's not expanded to go into details like Stephen King. Stephen King would take Surah Yusuf and expand it in a volume or 3 volumes, like what's the name of the famous book which came in a movie, 3 volumes. The King.
Harry Potter.
No, the King and so on, the Return of the King.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, 3 volumes. You can expand it to that level. In that, pain has been laid on the point which is not in the Old Testament, for example, that they were women were plotting and they cut their hand and so on. That's not in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, it is his master, his adoptive father is the one who jailed him. Different. So it's clarified this point and expand it in detail, in interesting detail. And it showed the character of Yusuf much better than presented the Old Testament. That when the people came to take him from prison, he said, no, I'm going to go out until I'm exonerated. Even the Prophet commented that in a hadith saying, if I were in prison as long as Yusuf and I'd been called to go out, I would have gone out without any condition. Is Yusuf and his character, his nobility. And so
let alone the fact that the Old Testament is essentially a book of stories, right? I
mean, independent of that, but even the story, what place we have a story, it is not structured like Stephen King.
Yes.
The Quran did not come to be of a story like Stephen King.
Yes, that's the point. Yes, exactly. Okay. Yes.
So they claim the incoherent, the story, and so on. Say, what do you mean incoherent? Show me, get the story of Musa, show there's a contradiction. You will not find.
Yeah.
But there's a bits here. If you weld them together, you will get the picture generally in a very reasonable way. And only the relevant things. For example, the Quran does not address that Musa, when he grew in the house of Pharaoh, according to Old Testament, he was living like a prince, which is understandable if he's in the house of Pharaoh and he's been adopted by the wife of Pharaoh. Then he will be like a prince. But the Old Testament claimed that he was in battle campaigns toward Ethiopia, toward Sudan, and so on. This is irrelevant. He's just in a royal palace. And he developed to be a man of strength and fighting spirit. Well, it's clear from his character. No need to stress that. It is nothing special. It's part of being in the palace. What do you expect if you grow in the palace as a prince? You will be a commander of armies. You will be a man of leadership. Not a man of slavery. That's all what counts. And that's enough.
And that's what makes the Quran unique, essentially. I mean, it shouldn't be regarded like a school book.
That's another discussion. That's an artistic exposition of the details of uniqueness and so on. We are not discussing that. Discussing the point is that it is coherent. Fundamental. Yes. That's it. We don't need the uniqueness that comes later. That comes later. Okay. Yeah. That comes later if we go then fleshing out the artistic aspects of the Quran, the musical aspects of the Quran, the numeric aspects of the Quran, which came only now apparent in the computer age. All of that will smash everyone completely. Yeah. So let's carry on. So the moment they say incoherent, stop it. No. Incoherent means contradiction. Doesn't fit together. Get a story, the longest story in the Quran, repeated in many places, is Musa. Get them everywhere and put them together. And you will see that you are wrong. Or show me. Quran says, if you wonder about the Quran, if it's from someone except Allah, there will be contradictions. Especially since it's revealed over 23 years. That's well-known fact. The Quran says that clearly, and also the recording history shows that clearly. Okay? So show me. It's easy to claim anything. I can't claim anything. I can't claim, I didn't say Abu Mahab, I claim the way Abu Mahab talks indicate that he has a flat nose. Show me. Get me his picture. Just from the sound, it sounds like he has a flat nose. It doesn't work this way. Flat nose can be seen in a picture, and we are in the age where pictures are there. Send me his picture by a mobile. Nothing can agree on that. Simple. Just claiming something doesn't mean anything. Everyone can claim anything he wants. Everyone can claim anything he wants. Put it on the table. Put it right away on the table. Okay? So, yeah, carry on.
My brother, what's me? Far away, brother, if you can.
Quick one about the coherence. I think what they mean is that sometimes the Quran talks about a particular subject, then it goes to a subject that is completely different, then it comes back.
This has nothing to do with coherence. It is organized, not like the usual books. It didn't say that I'm organized like the Old Testament, a sequence of stories. No.
Or do you see a particular wisdom in that, or?
It is not in chronological order deliberately. We have to find out, does it have serve any other purpose? Maybe not. Maybe it serves certain numerical consistency, which a computer will show today.
Ustad, have you studied or heard about the Nazm theory of people like Hamiduddin al-Farahi in Indo-Pak? There are many others who have this theory.
What's this theory? Just give us an example.
I haven't looked into it properly. That's why I don't want to butcher it. But there's a hidden coherence in some of these, in the layer of the Quran, how the surahs are placed together and how certain verses, how they connect, etc. For example,
if someone claims something like that's not coherence, that's a certain order, certain hidden interconnected relation, that's fine. I don't mind that.
They use the word nazm in Arabic, nazm.
Nazm, yeah. Nazm is organization or rhyme or rhythm. Okay, fine, fine, perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. But I can claim that. Show me. Be like an American coming from the state of Missouri. Show me. The state is called show me. Show me. You can't claim anything. Show me.
I'm going to try to give a quick example just for the audience, but I don't want to get into it so we can move on as well. So you know how the Quran talks about the same story in different surah, right? In different chapters. Sometimes the verses are extremely similar, but there's a slight difference, right? So naturally, when something is extremely similar, it's very easy to, for those who are memorizing or writing, to mix them up. But he shows, which is also a proof of preservation, that they are not mixed up. And the evidence is there are certain keywords used in certain surah that is particularly used in that ayah, and he shows a resemblance. I don't think I explained it properly, but yeah.
As I said, show me. Give me examples and show me.
Exactly.
That's it. Anyone can claim. Like, for example, look for the Surah Al-Fatiha. First of all, the numbering of the surah. Numbering maybe the ordinal, not the total number is 114. We know that's by necessity. No doubt about that. But the numbering, I would say, give the Fatiha, I would say use the ordinal, not the cardinal. Ordinal, I would say give the Fatiha number 0, because it's an opening like a forward.
He says something like that as well, yes.
Okay, let me tell you why.
Yeah, he says that.
This way, essentially hinting that the so-called natural numbers, the usual definition of natural number since the time of the Greek, is starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Because 0 was not, people did not comprehend 0 yet. It was like something obscure and strange. How can a number be 0? Nothing is there, and so on. But 0 has come to its standing, and so on. That's number one. If we add 0 to the natural number, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on, it's just, and use them for as an ordinals also. The result of that is the natural numbers, that in the case of addition, concerning addition, if we add the 0, it has a neutral element to addition, so it's a semi-group, semi-group in addition. Not a full group, because you cannot subtract. The negative numbers are not added yet. You expand to the negative numbers, it become a complete group in addition. In the case of multiplications, there's already a multiplicative semi-group. We have the neutral one and so on, but we cannot do an inverse, which is fractions, not yet. So that's number one. It becomes structured, the algebraic structure nicer. Second, the 0 takes its right place, and the empty set becomes the respectable set. All of that. That's number one. Secondly, Al-Fatiha is unique. It's like the opening of the Quran. Even its name is Al-Fatiha. It doesn't have another name. Now look at Al-Fatiha. You see, it is structured first. It begins with praising Allah Ta'ala. So the one reading Al-Fatiha starts, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Right? That's a pure praise. The one praising, he is the praiser, but he is absent from the text. Only the divine and his attributes are there. Yeah, like dua al-iftitah. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik, that's praise of Allah. Next, it should be showing poverty and loneliness toward Allah. It should be supplication. But the problem, supplication which base. So you have to assert the faith first in the. So the normal order should be اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. But what's the صراط المستقيم? It has to be defined for. So the next ayah will be إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. That's the صراط المستقيم.
Nice.
Declaration of faith. Then, although the order they should be at the end. Your declaration, وجهت وجهي الذي خلق السماوات والأرض. This is nice to declare your faith, but your personality is present more than necessary. But you are addressing the Lord of the universe, you should disappear. It should be very low. But here, there is need to define what Salat you are in the opening. The first one we read everywhere in the Salah in the Quran. So you have to define what's the Salat Mustaqim. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. Declaration of faith. نعبد, we enslave ourselves to you. We submit ourselves to you. And we ask your help. Then, since we are asking your help, we go اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So we have three portions. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. Then shifted forward because it's necessary in this context to have إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. And then the slave shows his slavery. اهدنا الصراط, please اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So this is Fatiha number 0. So Baqarah will be number 1 in order, in ordinal, and so on. And this has implication for other surahs. So for example, let us say Surah Tawbah is number 9. It becomes now, it's number 8 this way. And Anfal will become number 7. Does it have the implication to certain things in the Quran? We have to check. There's one implication for Surah Al-Naml. But I will leave that one for the Tafsir Quran, inshallah, when we get to Al-Naml. It has implication to the Surah Al-Naml start with Tasin, yeah? As a Tasin, and it has the number of the Ta and the Sin, the number of eyes and so on, and the order play the role. But we'll come to that, inshallah.
I thought so.
Numerical things. But that's
numerical things, yeah. I thought so.
That's it. We have to prove that this order by giving the Fatiha the number 0, ordinal, ordering it as number 0 is much better than ordering as number 1.
I go very
ordering is relatively arbitrary. You can start with number 3, 4, 5, 7, but it's not very logical. But usually start either with 1 or 0.
You know, I go very.
Is a bit not very common, but it seems to be the one testifies that the natural number should start with 0.
I got surprised that you said this because you triggered a memory when you said this. When you said Fatiha should be 0. Al-Farahi, he said that every chapter in the Quran has a pair, has another surah that is linked to, except Fatiha. It has no pair.
Yeah. So check these points, inshallah. We'll come to that to tafsir. So in Naml, because Naml has certain interesting characteristics. Okay. So that's one aspect concerning the order of things as well. But if someone claims something, well, you can't claim anything. Show, put on the table. Then we can discuss.
Sorry, Sheikh. Brother Arhat, just a quick question. Is there anything in the English language of Muhammad al-Farahi?
So many.
Oh, there is, okay. Because I was going through Numan Ali Khan's one because he's got
if anything, Barhat, if anything is available in PDF, put it in Enterprise.
I'll put it in.
I've got poor memory, but I did go through the series of Nadam. He goes through all the evidence meticulously, proper academically.
Good.
So Barhat, what you said about pairs. So there's not just like literally twos. There are some which are in groups of 4 because there's different thematics.
Excellent. Put it in.
I just can't remember the evidence, but yeah, in terms of the details of this surahs, this is how it matches, etc. So yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. I'm 100% convinced because he goes through all those arguments, and every time I'm thinking in terms of applying light and thought, then it shows this point. So,
this will be a subsection of the miraculous nature of the Quran.
That's true, but this is going back deeper, and especially with the algorithms. The point you said about it, which triggered me, it will smash you, because he was saying one of his friends was atheist. So he was trying to disprove the Quran, but because he was sincere, looking at it objectively, he goes, every time I found something, I was wrestling with the Quran, and these are his own words, he goes, I was pinned down.
because the nature, there's nothing that you can come with.
But this is hand waving arguments. What he said and what the
no, this is something separate. The
writer of Nazm try to compile it in an essay, your own essay. Don't be just receiving. Combine all of that with what we discuss in tafsir, and especially the muqaddimah. Go to the first 4 or 5 recording of tafsir. There are many issues about numerics and so on, basic ones, not the general complicated ones, and try to make your essay. So we build from there and go advanced. We have to be more.
I have not listened to actually.
Okay.
Inshallah.
So that's one aspect. What was the other aspect, Rash? Continue reading. Rash is going to sleep, Musaf.
No, I'm here. Probably go to sleep soon. It's getting late, man. Okay, which is so it does not matter what the precise nature of the miracle entails, whether it is according to the intrinsic nature of the Quran itself, which is intrinsically inimitable, or because of Allah by divine intervention has thwarted them in any attempt. But that's what we've got to. It does not matter because either of that is a miracle relative to the system of our present universe. The challenge with the Quran was done, and the Arabs were unable to bring anything the like thereof. This is a historically provable fact. Both scenarios show that this is only within the capability of the divine being to ensure this. The evidence stands clear, with no doubt, that the pure Arabs who spoke correct classical Arabic died out by the middle of the 4th century after Hijrah.
But this is a fact many people do not know. The Arabs in the Arab Peninsula, the Arabs in the Levant and Iraq and so on, their tongue became mutilated like maybe at the end of the time of Sahaba. And the establishing of Arabic grammar was done by Ali ibn Abi Talib al-Aswad al-Du'ali, because Ali heard some people doing mistakes in grammar, and he was upset. And he told Abu Aswad al-Du'ali, we have to do something to correct the people. It has to become now like artificial. They are not getting it from their parents automatically because they're mixing with Nabatian having a mutilated dialect Arabic, and also with Assyrian, Syriac, and so on. So the tongue is not a correct one, it's not a stiff one of the desert. So he dictated to Abu Aswad during the beginning of grammar, and it developed further Abu Aswad. So that's very early development. But in the desert, deep inside Arabia, especially the isolated tribes, they were speaking eloquent Arabic until very late. Mecca and Jeddah and so on, the areas of Hajj and Medina were excluded early because interaction with the Hajjaj cannot be trusted that their tongue is clean. So they were focusing on Najd and the part of Hijaz, which is going down to Najd, like in Taraba, southeast of Taif and Taraba. So the most eloquent Arabs are in Al-Aliyah, Safilat Al-Aliyah, and Aliyat Al-Safila. That's in Hijaz towards Najd, and in the plain of Najd, especially the tribe of Tamim. These are the cleanest Arabic. And they stayed like that. So the scholars were going deep in Arabia, recording words, recording Arabic variations, and so on, until the middle of the 4th century. And they take sometimes from Arabs when they come for trade in Basra, but after checking that they are not contaminated, they just come for trade and go back. There's one interesting story. I mean, always when I hear the story, I laugh. One Bedouin who came just for trade and was going to go back found a book. Someone lost a book, fell from his camel or something like that on the street. So he found the book and took it up and then went to the scholar, because the scholar said, come to me, I want to ask you about a few things about poetry and things like that. And then he said to the scholar, I found this book, it was fallen in the street. He's illiterate, he's Ammi, he's Arab, but he's Fasih. And I took the book, I thought it may be useful for you. I don't know what's it. You take it. Say, I take it only if it is muqayyad. Muqayyad meaning have tashkil. The taqeed is tashkil at that time. That's in the 2nd century. Say, Wallah, I don't know if it's muqayyad or loose. He understood the word muqayyad, opposite of loose. Chained or loose. And the scholar said, he's still really a Bedouin. If he understood the meaning of muqayyad, he's having now contaminated with the civilization. He's no good for Arabic language. So if he said it's muqayyad, meaning it is with declination and diacritic marks, then meaning he is not the Bedouin we can rely upon his pure Arabic, desert Arabic. So that so strict they were for those who come to Basra and so on just for trade. But normally they don't rely on this. They go deep in the desert, very deep in the desert, to record words, to complete the dictionaries, and also to take variations. And the famous argument about ليس الطيب إلا المسك or إلا المسك. The real perfume is misk. Is it إلا? Does إلا separate? Because ليس الطيب المسك, that will be without إلا. الطيب ليس عكس كان وأخواتها البهارات, knows what I mean. But if you do إلا, does it separate? And then say ليس الطيب إلا المسك ولا إلا المسك. And there was a dispute at time, I think, Abu Ja'far Mansour. And someone who was arguing, the Basri, I think it's Sibawi, the leader of Arabic Nahaw, say, Amir al-Mu'mineen, you have the Bedouins at your door coming just to visit and take maybe gifts and so on and go back. Ask them. And the other side said, no, we don't need to ask the Bedouins. It's ليس الطيب إلا المسك أو إلا المسك. And then Sibawi said, you will not find any Hijazi in the world except he's the one who's doing Rafa, and any Tamimi was doing Nasb. So there's two dialects. One says ليس الطيب إلا المسك, and the other says ليس الطيب إلا المسك. So they were referring to the Arabs and things like that in the 2nd century. So the Arabic language was preserved deep in the desert, and that's the only place they take. So they go deep in the desert and collect from the Arabs. And a bit maybe from those who come to the cities for trade and so on, but not the one who settled. Because the one who settled, they will be ultimately, their tongue will be a bit contaminated, cannot be relied upon. Understand? And luckily also, it is done by two competing cities. The Basri are having their own school, and the Kufi, and they're fighting against each other and competing with each other very badly, even plotting against each other. So we have, again, two fighting groups, which each one balances the other one. And each one striving to get the purest what he can get. Okay, back to our reading.
Okay. There aren't any people that speak this way now, except by thorough extraneous effort and detailed education, and not one of them has the right to judge the pure Arabic. Their judgment is not to be accepted, whether he said that it is a miracle or not.
So it's a matter of eloquence and so on, pure linguistic aspects. This man is done, is done, dusted. Nobody will come now and claim otherwise, because the one who can be an authority of the natural Arabic spoken by the people, as educated by their own mothers, they're extinct in the 4th century, 350 Hijri. That's something like the year 1000 roughly. Anno Domini, they are gone, and no challenge was completed. It is the pure linguistic aspects. The other aspects are still persisting until Yawm al-Qiyamah. So we're not relying only on linguistic, but if someone comes and say, I can do something linguistically, it doesn't matter. Besides, anyone trying something linguistically will be just repeating what the Quran, will be plagiarizing the Quran, essentially. That's what they'll be doing. And that's what some Christian tried recently. In the last century, someone tried. And all they did is they tried to write some parts of the gospel in Arabic. We'll try to make an end, because many ayah of the Quran end with noon. Alameen, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Mim, and Noon. And they just praised it with Alameen, Rahim, Rahman, Rahim, things like that. We just clear plagiarization. They think it sounds like the Quran. But even if you try to do tartil, give it to a reader, it will not be musical as the Quran. Become a joke. So obviously these efforts have died out. Nobody would like to be declared to be a clown, making the presentation in a circus. It's almost like a clown. So that's what has happened. Pure linguistic eloquence, just pure eloquence. Carry on. Okay. That's a pure eloquence Arabic only, but with many other aspects. And some aspects reserved for today. They were not known at that time. We were completely oblivious about them, because it requires really computerization and another approach of counting. Okay, carry on.
The challenge in the Quran remains till this. Their judgment is not to be accepted whether he said that is a miracle or not from the linguistic side. The challenge in the Quran remains till this day and shall remain forever. Concerning its meaning, including its literary and rhetorical creativity, true stories of the previous nations, scientific miracles, free from any false, amazing effect and influence on the human souls, even in its relatively poor translations. Allah the Exalted says, "We shall show them our signs in every region of the earth and in themselves until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. Is it not enough that your Lord witnesses everything?" That's 41:53. All which the Quran has.
And we see miracles coming day by day, new information testifying things which were not known before. So it's not ending, it's open. And there's a hadith of Rasulullah to clarify that, which, by the way, just a side note, completely undermine Ibn Taymiyyah's claim that the Prophet must have done, and the Sahaba must have done tafsir for every ayah. That's not true. They barely did tafsir for some ayahs. That's it. The rest, they relied on the people. They have good Arabic tongue, and they get as much information or knowledge from the ayah as much as they can according to their level of culture and understanding. And they do not bother getting them more than necessary in there. Deliberately, because it should stay open until Yawm al-Qiyamah, because more to come in the future. Carry on.
Okay. All which the Quran has brought is from Allah, just as that which was brought by Muhammad ﷺ is from Allah, and it is all truth revealed as a whole and in all parts. Similar has been mentioned about the miraculous nature of the Quran by previous exegetes, with additional details. For example, as set forth by Imam al-Fakhr al-Razi in his seminal work of tafsir regarding the challenge postulated by the verses below. So one second, yeah. Oh, sorry, 1 second, yeah. No, okay. So this is the ayah. It is ayah now. If you have doubts about revelation, we have sent down to our servant, then produce a single surah like it. Enlist whatever supporters you have other than Allah. If you truly think you can, if you cannot do this, you never will. Then beware of the fire prepared for the disbelievers, whose fuel is men and stones. That's Surah Baqarah 23 and 24. Upon which he writes about the discourse related to the prophethood in these issues. The first issue, we know that he, all glory to him, and he is the Almighty, when he provided compelling, firm evidence to substantiate the existence of a creator, and thereby nullifies the viewpoint of shirk with what has been established by way of prophethood. And that shows the corruption of at-Tahlimiyya, those who made recognition of Allah acquired from recognition of the Messenger, and the viewpoint of al-Hashawiyya, who said there is no recognition of Allah which is obtained except by way of the Quran. When the prophethood of Muhammad ﷺ is established by way of miraculous nature of the Quran, evidence was provided for its miraculous nature. Know that the miraculous nature of the text is established by way of two pathways. The first, it is said that the Quran must be viewed as being within one of a possible three categories. A, being equal to the speech of others similarly eloquent. B, surpassing that eloquent speech, but within bounds of not breaking norms. And C, surpassing it to such an extent that it defies convention. The first two divisions are invalid, so the third is affirmed. We only said that the first two are invalid because if it were so, it would have been necessary for them to produce a surah like it, either collectively or individually. If there were disagreement and fear of non-acceptance, then witnesses and judges would remove doubt. And that would be the end of the argument because they were knowledgeable in language and well-versed in the laws of eloquence to the utmost. And they were extremely eager to invalidate its matter, to the extent that they sacrificed lives and wealth and committed various types of catastrophes and trials. They were staunch and arrogant to the point of not accepting the truth. For how could falsehood prevail? All of this necessitates presenting what challenges their statements, and opposition is the strongest form of challenge. Since they did not provide it, we understood their inability to do so. Thus it was established that the Quran does not resemble their speech. The disparity between it and their speech is not a customary disparity. Therefore, it is a contradictory disparity. Hence, it must be miraculous.
Mhm.
This is the intended meaning of establishing this indication, revealing that he, the Exalted, did not suffice in understanding Tawheed through imitation, just as he did not suffice in understanding prophethood through imitation. And know that in the Quran many aspects converge that would imply a deficiency in its eloquence. Yet despite that, it reaches the utmost limit of eloquence, beyond which there is no further limit, imitating its miraculous nature. One aspect is that the eloquence of the Arabs mostly lies in describing scenes, such as describing a camel, horse, maiden, king, strike, stab, war, or raid. And there is nothing of these things in the Quran. There's nothing of these things in the Quran. Therefore, it is necessary that the eloquent expressions agreed upon by the Arabs in the speech not occur in it. No, I'm not getting it. The second aspect is that the
You
most
understand what he means? Means the
Not really.
Arabs usually, if you say their poetry, they describe gazelles going grazing and nice pictures and a beautiful woman walking slowly and things like that, showing her body parts, things like that. That's what, nothing in the Quran is like that, describing natural scenes. Barely anything, maybe one place or two. And even it describes functionality and not necessarily appearance and so on. So that their eloquence in that area is first class. And also the distinction between multiple plurals and single plural. Like, for example, when two poets competed at Al-Khansa, she was the head analyst of poetry before she became Muslim. She became Muslim. And she judged, and one mentioned his poetry, and she said, he said, كأن نجوم كان سيوفنا as if our swords are above our heads, like a night in which the stars have fallen to sunset. She said, you said أسيافنا. If you said سيوفنا is more. سيوفنا is called more. Plural of plenty, while asyafana plural of small number, like 9, 7. Siyufana, hundreds of thousands, and so on. And then you compare two things to one thing. It's not like a moral case comparing two things to two things, and things like that. These technicalities are known to the Arabs, and they have even judges judging these things. And these guys, the only culture they have is really an oral culture of eloquence. And they were in a state of shock about the Quran. Let's at loss to classify it. What it is? Is it poetry? Is it songs? What's it? Okay, that's just purely linguistically. Well, there are other things, obviously, the more important things which are persisting until Yawm al-Qiyamah and more to come. Okay. Anyway, you say imitation, meaning imitation that's following by blind faith. You follow your parents and so on, imitate them. It's not acceptable in belief. Your belief must be, in principle, based on at least some kind of independent thinking and consideration. Pure imitation is not really a respectable belief. Blind faith is not acceptable in Islam. Just because your parents prompt you that, you must have your own. Your evidence does not mean necessarily to be a complex proof or a philosophical one or a complicated Arabic, but sometimes as simple as the Bedouin assumed. How do you know that the creator of universe say? So the dropping of the camel indicates there was a camel there, and the traces in the sand indicate someone was walking there. So all these phenomena around us, the heavens and the earth and so on, do not indicate there's a creator there. So that's an evidence, a good evidence. Essentially, fine-tuning evidence, but in simple Bedouin-like style. You don't say, my parent told me there's a God and I'm believing what I'm talking at faith. Even if it goes to an extreme, one American black man who embraced Islam in the 80s, he said he was wavering and knowing what to do and so on, until he said, I was passing in, he mentioned a city in the middle America, somewhere in Idaho, in Ohio or something like that. And there was a movie theater which was converted into a gathering place for some Christian and things like that. And then I had the shock of my life. I saw a big banner saying, Do not think, just believe. So you say, I was in a state of shock. I remember the Quran saying, scrutinize it, find contradiction, discuss with someone else to attain faith. And these guys say, do not think, believe. That must be a fallacy. So he decided to embrace Islam at that moment. So that's it. You have to have a proof. It doesn't need to be philosophical, structural proof or theology or ilm al-kalam proof. No, it's a proof suitable for you, for your level of sophistication, level of upbringing, but it's not following some just a parents, or I'm taking it as faith. That's not the way it works in Islam. Okay. Okay, next.
Okay, carrying on. The second aspect is that the Most High observed truthfulness in it and refrained from falsehood altogether. Every poet who abandoned lying and adhered to truthfulness, his poetry flourished. It is noteworthy that Labid ibn Rabi'ah and Hassan ibn Thabit, upon embracing Islam, continued their poetry, yet their Islamic poetry did not match the quality of their pre-Islamic poetry. Despite Allah, the Most High, maintaining distance from lying and exaggeration, He brought forth the Quran as eloquent as you can see. And the third aspect, eloquent speech and eloquent poetry only agree in the poem in the couplet or couplets. The rest does not follow suit. And the Quran is not like that because it is all eloquent to the extent that creation is unable to match it, just as they were unable to match its entirety. And the fourth aspect, whoever speaks eloquent poetry in describing something, if they repeat it, their second speech in describing that thing is not equivalent to their first speech. In the Quran, there is much repetition, yet each instance reaches the pinnacle of excellence, and the variance does not appear at all. Fifth, it confined itself to enjoining worship, prohibiting abominations, exhorting noble ethics, forsaking worldly pursuits, and choosing the hereafter. And such words necessitate a reduction in eloquence. 6. They said that the poetry of Imrul Qais is excellent in entertainment, mentioning women and describing horses. The poetry of Al-Nabigha excels in times of fear, while Al-Asha's poetry is best suited for request and describing wine. And Zuhair's poetry is suitable for desires and hopes. In general, every poet excels in his art and weakens in other arts. However, the Quran came eloquent in all arts, reaching the utmost eloquence. Don't you see that He, the Exalted, said in the context of encouragement, no soul knows what joy is kept hidden in store for them as a reward for what they have done. That's 32:17, with all that their souls desire and their eyes delight in. Seventh, the Quran is the origin of all sciences. The science of rhetoric is all in the Quran, and the entire science of jurisprudence is derived from the Quran, as well as the science of the principles of jurisprudence, the science of grammar and language, the science of asceticism in worldly matters, and the news of the hereafter, along with the application of noble ethics. From contemplating our book in the evidence of miracle, one learns that the Quran has reached the pinnacle of eloquence in all its aspects. The second approach, to say that the Quran is either said to have been exceedingly eloquent to the point of being miraculous, or it was not so. If the former is established, then it is miraculous, and if the latter, opposition to this estimation is possible. The failure to provide opposition, despite its possibility and availability of the reasons for providing it, is extraordinary, thus making it miraculous. Therefore, it is established that the Quran is miraculous in every aspect. The method, in our view, is closer to correctness, and that's Tafsir al-Razi, Volume 2, page 34, 347, 348, Shamila edition. Next one. So that was all al-Razi, and this is now your statement. Internal cohesion. Hence, it is worth stressing a critical fundamental truth in that the Quran is absent in that the Quran is absent in all manner of contradictions. In fact, the emphasis upon this point is mentioned by way of challenge to its opponents. Scrutinize it meticulously and try to show that there isn't any inconsistency, with the intention of seeking its refutation. Yet the challenge cannot be met, because it is from Allah, the Almighty, Lord of all Majesty, may He be exalted. Each of the verses is manifestly clear upon this. One should ponder upon them very carefully. And it's an ayah, will they not think about this Quran? If it had been from anyone other than Allah, they would have found much inconsistency in it. And that is 482. Next ayah, if you have doubts about the revelation we have sent down to you, to our servant, then produce a single surah like it, enlist whatever supporters you have other than Allah, if you truly think you can. If you cannot do this, you never will. Then beware of the fire prepared for the disbelievers, whose
No,
fuel
that's the
is living
same. If you
stones.
cannot do that, and ولن تفعل, and you will not do that. ولن تفعل, you will never be able to do that. Lan meaning forever, essentially, and there's some evidence show otherwise. ولن تفعل, you will never be able to do that. فإن لم تفعلوا ولن تفعلوا. If they don't do it, and you will never be able to do it. So don't waste your energy, but try until you collapse and give up.
And that's Baqarah 23-24.
Yeah.
And next one, say, even if all mankind and jinn come together to produce something like this Quran, they could not produce anything like it. However much they helped each other. In this Quran, we have set out all kinds of examples for people, yet most of them persist in disbelieving. And that's 1788-90. Without equivocation, it is an open and clear challenge. Yet it is not for assertions based upon no evidence. Rather, it seeks to affirm the principle of invalidation and falsification. In other words, anything which doesn't properly hold up to anxious scrutiny will be deemed void and rejected. Attempts to falsify will also come within the scope of that. Here again, the meaning in the verse is categorical. Show me your evidence, then if what you say is true. 2764.
Yeah.
The verse was Meccan in origin, thus appearing in Al-Baqarah. Produce your evidence if you are telling the truth. Being revealed at Medina. Thus the truth, being inherently valuable, a sought-after matter, doesn't crystallize in the mind of the believer or produce thought which is enlightened, let alone effective action, unless it is based upon substantive evidence. Without that, it can be easily swept away. Whenever someone makes a claim, being convinced of its purported truth, yet without recourse to substantive evidence, it is an assumption, not a cogent proof. This is even if the statement itself being made is true. A person making the assertion would be deemed as traversing into the path of being a liar because it has been made without evidence. As the aforementioned verse shows, evidence must be brought forth. There is no middle ground between truth and abject falsehood. He, the Almighty and Exalted, mentions the following. We shall show them our signs in every region of the earth and in themselves, until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. Is it not enough that your Lord witnesses everything? What a magnificent verse. If this is taken into serious consideration with the other points previously made, then it inevitably becomes a clear invitation to deeply contemplate the spectrum and nature of humanity itself, to undertake an open-minded search to see if there can be anything that stands against the message of the Quran. As its detractors would hold, by the claim that it is not a revealed book from Allah. Yet Allah has here promised to marshal evidence to bolster the truthfulness of the Quran within the temporal world. Indeed, a great deal of this has been realized and manifested. Next section, evidence bolstered. Many aspects are detailed in the text of the Quran well beyond the knowledge that was available at the time of revelation. One clear example of this relates to the formation and development of the human fetus. Such detail was not possible through mere dissection that was available, but actually requires the use of modern scientific instruments. Much of this has been documented by countless researchers. It has been presented with the utmost precision, demonstrating the proof scientifically, intellectually, and showing its religious underpinnings. One example is from Dr. Keith Moore, professor of embryology at the University of Toronto. Astonished by the accuracy given in the Quranic description, he published his research findings, showcasing them on public outlets for greater impact, attracting media coverage with headings like amazing discoveries found in an ancient book. Moreover, the Quranic text that all living beings were created from water. Here, this doesn't only imply that living organisms require water, as has been known to everyone since antiquity, but rather that they are fundamentally composed of water, and that water is an essential component for them. In recent years, this has been confirmed through a microscopic study of all living cells, which has shown that cellular cytoplasm contains 80% water. All known life functions all known life functions are impaired except in an aqueous environment. It has also been established that life began on Earth initially in an aquatic environment, after which terrestrial organisms emerged over a long period of time. Splitting of the moon. Among the miracles that were made for him, peace and blessing be upon him and his noble family, was the splitting of the moon. Here the text of the Quran says, "The hour draws near, this moon is split. Whenever the disbelievers see a sign, they turn away and say, same old sorcery. They reject the truth and follow their own desires. Everything is recorded, although warning tales that should have restrained them have come down to them, far-reaching wisdom, but these warnings do not help." That's 54, 1-5. The Meccans witnessed this event with their own eyes. Some have been confused with this event, perplexed, and how did no one else on earth witness it? In other words, was it only seen in Mecca and its environs? Didn't anyone on earth at that specific moment witness this too? Several points need elucidation here. We would argue the following. Firstly, the incident of the splitting of the moon only lasted a few seconds and was witnessed by the people of Mecca and those around them. They were the ones addressed by it and no one else. We have established in a separate study that this event took place in Mecca itself at night during the time of dawn, just before the sun rose, when the moon was full. By that time, the moon had already set and the sun had actually risen in all the lands to the east of the Central Arabian Peninsula. Therefore, the people of Iraq and every county to the east of Iraq, all the way to China and Japan, passing through India, none of them could have possibly witnessed the occurrence. These countries were civilized at that time, and known for their attention to observing the sky, astronomical observations, and recording phenomena. As for the lands west of Mecca, like most of Africa, with the exception of Egypt and Abyssinia, these were uncivilized regions, not known for astronomical observation, and their people had no interest in such matters. In fact, they do not have written languages. As for Egypt, Abyssinia, Asia Minor, and southern Europe, they had centuries before fallen under the control of warring Christian churches and barbarian invasions, leading them into the darkness of the Middle Ages. Observations were closed, libraries were burned, and philosophers and scholars were persecuted. If we were to follow the weather forecast on television, we would realize that entire continents can be covered by clouds with only a few clear spots, multiple times throughout the year. It is possible that the lands west of Mecca on our side of the globe were covered by clouds at the time, especially considering that the event likely occurred in early winter, a season when clouds and rain are common in Egypt, Asia Minor, and southern Europe. The event occurred at night, when the vast majority of people were asleep. The few who were awake, perhaps due to insomnia, illness, or religious devotion like monks in their monasteries, would typically be indoors under a roof in their homes, monasteries, or caves. Especially during winter, they would be preoccupied and unlikely to look up at the sky, unless a person deliberately raised their head to the sky to look up at the sky. Unless a person deliberately raised their head to the sky and observed it carefully, they would not have noticed or been aware of the event, even if the sky was clear. It is possible that a rare few people witnessed the events, but did not dare to speak about it, fearing they would be disbelieved or considered insane. After all, the event lasted only a few seconds, or at most a few minutes. As for those who claim that this event will occur at or just before the Day of Judgment, they were mistaken. This is a serious error. The clear text of the verse states that they saw the sign, turned away, and accused Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, of sorcery. So why deny or overcomplicate the matter? Moreover, authentic reports have come from several companions recorded in Bukhari and other sources which affirm that this event took place in Mecca. We have concluded a separate study on this, which can be perused for further details. Okay, that's so
Just
the
another additional point. If you look at Medina at that time, after the Prophet immigrated there, there's a report about the solar eclipse, which happened the day Ibrahim bin Muhammad alayhi died. And there was a prayer of kusuf, etc. Yeah, but there was no report whatsoever that there's another salah of kusuf was done. Because although if you look to the tables about the kusufs and khusufs, there was no other kusuf in Medina worthy of because kusuf would be the daytime. If it's kusuf elsewhere in the earth and this night at Medina, nobody will see anything. But there were many lunar eclipses, but they were at a time which is very late in the night or before Fajr, considerably before Fajr, so like around midnight. And no report about them. So most people are sleeping, and even though who are indulged in night prayer, they are most likely at home or in the masjid under the arish, under the head cover, and they didn't see it. There's no report. Although you can see in the tables, there are tons of them. No report whatsoever. So what happens, like the people at the time, there was not enough broadcasting and television. There was none actually to keep them awake well after Isha. And people wake very early at morning, most people in the world, and go behind their livestock or to their agriculture. And after sunset, they are almost like dead of tiredness and they sleep. So whatever happens at night or before dawn, nobody will see. So that's just to enforce that. Just this is another fact about Medina. Now, in concerning kusuf and khusuf, and also the eclipse of the moon takes a long time. It takes sometimes for 1 hour, half an hour, 2 hours, and still nobody witnessed anything in Medina. No report has come. If anyone was had witnessed, they may have performed salat of kusuf or khusuf. None, except the one in the day Ibrahim bin Muhammad alayhi died. That famous one with the salah as described. Okay, there's an extra evidence. So that's it. The whole, according to the reports and so on, the whole was just a little bit before sunrise in the western side of Mecca, and the Prophet collected them in Mina. It was in Mina, and the moon was almost about to set, and the sun was about to rise in their back, and they were looking towards west, and it was between the two mountains and the split. So the moon went on the top of one of the mountain, was the half was visible, and the other half was behind the other mountain because it's higher. I have picture of that even and so on, but I didn't complete the research because I relied on people to take photos of that area. They didn't do a good job, but I have some photos and so on to show how the area looks like and so on. Where is the place, a possible place of the split would have been? It's just maybe like half an hour before moonset. So it's like half an hour before sunset. So in their back is already, you could see the dawn break in their back, east side. While in the west side, the moon is setting. It's a full moon, definitely. Okay. So that's one. I mentioned the Quran. So that's if it would have been not a fact, the people would have torn Muhammad apart, accuse him of lying. But clearly there's so no, it's what happened, but you have bewitched our eyes. You are a sorcerer. That's what really the narrations plus the Quranic text indicate. The splitting the moon is well-established miracle, mentioned clearly in the Quran, and there's quite a number of good authentic narration there in the research there. But I didn't issue the research because I was waiting for these photos and it did not work and it's messed up and so on. Okay. And now we have this problem with the vision, but inshallah, one day, hopefully, we'll be able to finish that one way or another, at least without even the picture if necessary. But all the narration, the discussion, there is not is done thoroughly, as usual way we do things. Okay, good. Carry on.
You think it's worth pausing here? So coming to 11:30. It's quite late, and we're at the point of challenging the people of the book. So we've still got about another.
Is that starting with another section or chapter?
Yeah, well, it's not another chapter, but it's just another section. There's another 10 pages.
A section of the title, a separate section.
Yeah.
Okay, then we stop there. What's the time now?
Time is 11:26.
Okay, I think it's good to stop here.
Yeah. Also, okay. So the time. Yeah. So I also sent a poll. Actually, Abu Muhammad. So I sent a poll out to the people as well, and most of them were coming back at 8 o'clock. I put that on the enterprise and on the public forum. So it's looking like it's gonna be 8 o'clock next week. If you know, I'll tally up the numbers. But yes, 8 o'clock UK time, unless you hear something else.
Okay.
Okay. Abu
Next week,
Mahab
yeah.
and anyone else wants to speak, feel free to speak now, inshallah.
Yes, Professor. So, going back to a couple of halaqas back, when you were talking about the correct interpretation of the ayah, وَمَنْ يَدْعُ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ لَا بُرْهَانَ لَهُ بِهِ. So you said that the correct one is it is impossible to have an evidence for another contingent being than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, correct?
Necessary being.
Necessary being, yes, yes. And mashallah, you did a great job in compiling what the Mufassirin said, and you try to be inclusive by including Zamakhshari of the Mu'tazilite. But here I want to also add something very, very, very interesting. Here we have in front of me the Taysir al-Tafsir, which is a tafsir book by, he's an Ibadi Sheikh of the 19th century from Algeria. So he's a Ibadi by Madhab. He's called Muhammad bin Ibrahim Atfesh. So let me read to you what does he say. He says something very similar to yours. He says ومن يدعو يعبد مع الله إلها آخر يعبدها جميعا أو يعبد غير الله مع وجود الله لا برهان له به الجملة نعت إلها. So he means له referring to إلها. Then he says وكلاهما لازم مؤكد لا قيد إذ لا يوجد إله سواه ثابت ببرهان يحترز عنه وهذا أولى من أن تجعل الجملة معترضة. So he's saying that لا برهان له is indeed like تأكيد, like it is affirmation that there is an impossibility to have an evidence for another divine, which then he states that this tafsir, this interpretation is أولى, is better than to interpret it the traditional way that the Mufassirin say that it is معترضة, that the second portion of the ayah اعتراض على it contests the first portion of the ayah. So alhamdulillah, even Ibadi, some Ibadi have got it correct here.
Yeah, good. Good.
Yeah, so I just I just mentioned this just to keep it on record.
Keep that text and the reference from Shamil and so on. Maybe we'll add it later in the Arabic.
I will, inshallah. But it's a good thing that it was recorded. Now I have a question related to like last few sessions when we were talking about the divine, the divine and the attributes of the divine. So essentially, I have heard it multiple times in forums and in person. You know, when the Wahhabis they try to respond to our point of view of Rububiyyah and Uluhiyyah, they come with this question. I honestly don't know how to answer them, so that's why I'm asking you. They say if you're claiming that Rububiyyah is the pinnacle point of Tawheed, right? That's our claim essentially. Then how come the fundamental sentence of Islam, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, it stresses upon uluhiyya, La ilaha. The shahada is La ilaha. It's not La Rabba illallah.
Yeah, but it includes, because you have to refute any ilah, and then the Rabb which is refuted by that is the supreme Rabb. Not any Rabb, the supreme Rabb. There's other Rabbs, like the master of a slave and so on. This is the Rabb. But the supreme Rabb, Rabb al-A'la, is Ilah. And Rabb al-A'la cannot be except Ilah. If you declare someone to be Rabb al-A'la, which is not an Ilah, this is a contradiction.
I understand that Rububiyyah is part of Uluhiyyah. It cannot be separated like some Wahhabis think.
And the Rububiyyah al-Ulya, that's the ultimate reference frame, is the pinnacle, the peak of Uluhiyyah.
Absolutely, and this their question is actually valid. How come the phrase of shahada stresses upon uluhiyya, which is the lower tawheed, rather than stressing about rububiyyah, which is the
Because it
physical part,
includes
the
that.
top?
It covers both. It has to exclude Elohiyya in any case. And then exclude Rububiyyah al-Ulya.
So, because I'm trying here to imagine it in my mind. So, assuming uluhiyya is a mountain, the peak of mountain is
No.
rububiyyah.
If you say لا رب أعلى إلا الله, there may be some lower ilah who create and so on. But if you exclude the lower one, the top one is excluded.
Okay.
That's very clear.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah,
Say, this is a plain. There is no mountain there. So there's no mountain top. If there's no mountain, there's no mountain top automatically. But if there is no mountain top, there may be a mountain without top, a flat mountain or a hill or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
You know that just flashed in my mind when the Prophet told the Christian اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم, and he says we did not take them divine. ما عبدناهم.
No, they say ما عبدناهم. They said even divine. They are confused, like the Wahhabi. They are confused. That's it.
No, but essentially the answer of Prophet ﷺ when he said rububiyyah is not a matter of divine attribute.
That's not what the Prophet answered. They said ما عبدناهم.
Yes, and then what?
Because the ayah say متخذوا أرباب من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم وما أمروا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا لا إله إلا هو.
Because al-Masih was included in the ayah.
His comment is valid. ما عبدناهم. المسيح, he doesn't say ما عبدنا المسيح. They do عبادة المسيح. Regard him as ilah and they pray to him and so on. In the usual simple-minded meaning of عبادة. And the Prophet did not answer about Masih. There's no issue there. But about the Rahban, say, shouldn't they make halal haram and haram? Say yes. فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَتُهُم.
Absolutely, and I want to stress that they did not consider them ilahan, divines. These
whatever they consider them is irrelevant. They are supreme Lord. They can enact laws. That's it.
Yes. Even though Adi bin Hatim, this Sahabi, he said we did not.
No, at that time he was not Sahabi. He was just an Arabic idiot.
Oh yes,
any other Arab. He was not yet.
Yes,
Even
he was
after
not
becoming
Muslim
Sahabi, did not have suddenly a feather on his head, become a chieftain or say no. He's just a simple Arab. That's his understanding. First corrected him. He answered correctly. Didn't they do this and this? He said, فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَتُهُم.
Yes. So let's concentrate on what the Prophet ﷺ says. When he said فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَتُهُم, he's not only mentioning one type of shirk, which is
no. He's mentioning because he's answering to him because he مَا عَبَدْنَاهُم. He answered him. Didn't they do halal haram say? And you accept that? Say فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَتُهُم. خلاص, clarified.
Yes, فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَتُهُم, even though they did not assume that these ahbar and ruhban are divine.
It has nothing to do with the assumption. عِبَادَتُهُم meaning, what's the meaning of ibadah? You enslave yourself to them and accept them as supreme Lord. That's it.
Supreme Lord in injunction, giving orders, but not supreme
that's the
Lord
only
in
meaning of
creation.
supreme Lord. Abu Muhammad, clean your head from ibadah is being bowing and sujood and ruku'. That's what Adi ibn Hatim thinks.
Yes.
That's the reason said ما عبدناهم. They did not ما عبدناه المسيح. Because they make ibadah to Masih according to his misconception.
Okay.
He's objecting to الأحبار والرهبان, not to the Masih. Because the Quran say اتخذوا أحبار ورهبان أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم. طيب, okay. وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا لا إله يعبدوا إلها واحدا لا إله إلا الله سبحانه وتعالى عما يشركون. He said, maybe our Masih, you are right, Ya Muhammad. I quote you now by surprise. But we did not do ibadah, ruku', sujood, praising, Hail Mary, Hail Isa, and so on, for the Rahban. Ask him a specific question. Didn't they enact laws? But he made it even in a simplified language. They make halal, haram, and haram. They legislate. Counter to Allah legislation. They legislate intrinsically. But he cannot go in these complicated things for such a simple Arab. And he said, yes, say, فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَتُهُم. انتهينا, finished. That's the meaning of ibadah. Your ruku' and sujood is irrelevant. It's not ibadah. It's just sport. Swedish action. Has nothing to do with ibadah. Ibadah is just one. أحبار ورهبان and also عبادة of Masih. That's it. That the Masih
Yes.
being a divine being and have the same source and the Father is secondary. That is the Supreme Lord also. That's
Yes, but in ayah, when Isa was mentioned, he says ilahan, not rabban, because they consider him have
no,
divine
the
attributes.
ayah says clearly اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم full stop أو كوما semicolon وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا.
Ilahan wahidan, I was asking you, is referring to Isa, not to the...
No. All of these are alihatan by being Supreme Lord at the same time.
Because they give them the right of injunction.
Yeah, خلاص, that's very clear.
They become divine.
We mentioned the example of a plane. You say there's no mountain, there's also no mountain top. But if you say there's no mountain top, there may be still a mountain, a hill, without a top, flat top.
I see. So the correct imagination of uluhiyya and rububiyyah, two circles connected together, like two rings.
No, they're two different things in the definition of the same, but they are connecting in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that sense that He the Supreme Lord and so on. But if you, for human being, you regard this king as having a right of legislation, you made him Rabb A'la without necessarily believing that he created and changed the universe. But this makes him also Ilah.
I see.
Because the Rububiyyah Uliya, the right of legislation should be only for the Ilah. But they separated it, and with they fall in shirk. And they do ibadah to them in that sense. So they made them Aliha. By making them Rabb A'la, legislator, they make them Ilah. The same with رأيت من اتخذ إله وهواه. His desire is the one who legislates for him. Is his Ilah. Doesn't mean he prostrate and light candle for himself and bow to himself. No. He legislates. He defined good and evil according to his desire.
Okay, got you. But going back to my first question, because I still don't get it. Why the phrase of Shahada or the saying of Shahada is La ilaha?
Because it negates Rububiyyah Ulya automatically.
But shouldn't be Rububiyyah, La Rabb?
No. It should be Uluhiyyah because it's negated. There's another creator, another commander, another everything. All of it. That plane is plain. There's no mountain. So there's also no mountain top.
Okay, but if it's only La ilaha without mentioning Rububiyyah,
it is included automatically because Rububiyyah is the top of the mountain. There's no mountain. There's no mountain top.
Okay, so the right of legislation is essentially, according to our right understanding, not these Wahhabi or the Mushrikeen, is the right of legislation is part of divinity, right? Only the divine being,
by necessity of reason,
can create that.
But the Mushrikeen, the seculars, are not separated.
Yes, separated. They think it's something else. They are not connected.
Yeah, but it's the same like Adi ibn Hatim.
Okay.
And the Prophet has sorted him, clarified that to him.
Yes.
It's finished.
Okay. Yes. Now,
so you can't tell any secular person you are a mushrik. You are a mushrik kafir. Don't fool yourself, because you don't have an idol at home. You don't need to have Shiva at home. In the parliament is your Shiva. There, finish. And worse. So don't fool yourself. Don't play a game.
But even those, yes, you are correct. You know why? Because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ.
Yeah,
so Hawa, his desire, he is enslaved to his desire in terms of injunction, in terms of following what he needs. So Allah mentioned that he is Ilah, not Rabb. Right, because he created himself having a characteristic of divinity.
Essentially, he made himself the supreme lord of himself.
Supreme lord of himself. Yes.
And then because the supreme lord is also Ilah.
Yes, the divine. Okay.
Does not mean like an idol you bow in front and put candle and things like
absolutely, that. Absolutely. This is the traditional strong understanding of divinity, uluhiyya. Yes. Okay.
The mistake starts with there.
Yes. Okay. Subhanallah.
But also you can ask them, what's about ميثاق الفطرة? ألست بربكم? He did not ask him because there's usually no dispute that Allah is the creator for most human beings. There's not a dispute, but they may dispute about is the only commander, the only who define good and evil.
I see. I see. So it seems that the pattern of Quran, whenever there is a necessity to highlight Rububiyyah, Allah used Rabb. Whenever there is a necessity to
We'll see
highlight
every
Rububiyyah,
ayah, but that's a sweeping statement. The only thing is to list all of them and go through that. That's just, as I say, I am from Missouri. Show me.
Okay.
Only if you go through all of them and show that. Maybe not. Maybe it has other deeper sense in some time. Like Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of the universes. In that context, it meaning the one who, the Lord, that's the linguistic meaning. He is the owner and he is the commander. That's the Lord. Lord has two aspects. You own something, so it's you are the Lord of things because you own him, or you are the one who order and command. And they gave the example, which will come later, like the Japanese car you have. The creator of the car is the Japanese worker or the factory. That's the creator of the car, the maker of the car. But you are the owner of the car. And you are the master of a car. You can direct it, you can put it in the garage, you can drive in the street if you do the insurance and so on. You manage the car. But you are not the creator of the car. Is there some Chinese worker or a group of worker or a factory there?
Okay.
That's a linguistic meaning. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The owner and the commander of the universe. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmuddin, separating Yawmuddin especially, but he's not only owner in the sense of Rabbil Alameen, because this one part of the Alameen, he's also a king there, the judge, and so they would execute judgment and do the executive power also openly, which is in dunya hidden behind the scene. You don't see him. In Yawm al-Qiyamah is in front, doing the judgment, doing the action of a king.
Furthermore, in Surah Al-Fatiha, if we consider Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim part of the ayah, it fits perfectly because Bismillah, Allah, Uluhiyya, then followed by divine attributes.
That's the introduction to every surah. Leave it, as if it's part or not, leave it. It is not part of the surah anywhere. It's part of the Quran, but not part of the surah. But independent of that.
Yes.
Independent of that.
But the sentence, the Bismillah, it's perfectly.
The catastrophe is Ibn Taymiyyah is that made Rabb is the creator. And the evidence of Tamanu, he's everywhere. Remove the word Ilah and put Rabb, where it should not be there.
Yes.
Because the Tamanu based on creation, not on commanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even though I just want to stress that to our understanding, the correct understanding of Quran is that Rububiyyah in itself part of divinity.
No, in the case of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the case of this context, but linguistically, Rabb is different than Ilah.
It's different than Ilah. Yeah, okay. Yes.
That's it.
Okay. That settles it. Alhamdulillah. Yes.
Linguistically, but then if you apply to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to other deities, and then it's meant to be whether that's where if you trip over, you kill yourself. Well, that's what Taymiyyah did. Because
he tried to separate them.
insisted to make the mutakallimin wrong. Because the mutakallimin said, La ilaha illallah, there's no creator and so on, independent creator by his own power except Allah. He said, no, that's wrong. There's nobody should worship except Allah Ta'ala. And this is the catastrophe which there's no cure for it except to go back to zero.
Yes, and he even said something even worse. May Allah forgive him. He said that the messengers, the prophets, they were sent only for Tawheed al-Uluhiyya. Only for establishing.
Because he made the blunder at the beginning, that's finished.
Yes.
But the moment you made the blunder, you never go back to any right thing unless you go to square zero and correct from the beginning.
Yes.
Because he defined Rububiyyah and Uluhiyya, all of it is wrong and contradictory. So it will never work. It will never work.
Yes. Even though the ayah in the Quran, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله, right? So Islam came to correct this deviation.
Ya Habibi, Ibn Taymiyyah, like most scholars, after the time Sahaba, even some of the Sahaba, they cut the Quran into pieces. They did not look all the Quran. If you looked on all the Quran, he would have been stuck. He sees an ayah and ignore the other ayah. That's what brings your demise. That's what will bring you to collapse. You will never succeed this way, especially in deep issues like that.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Clear. Alhamdulillah. Third and final point I want to make, which is, yesterday in Surah in Tafsir session, you were saying you were talking about the intercession, shafa'a, and you were mentioning the correct way to ask the shafa'a from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala through from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, not ask the infinite, the finite being like the Prophet or the Wali.
The one you think he's a Shafi', don't ask him ishfa' li yawm al-qiyamah.
Yes, and essentially what you said, you ask Allah to grant this Nabi or this Wali shafa'a for him yawm al-qiyamah, correct?
Yeah.
I want to make it a little bit complex because some Sufis use. Yes, because some Sufis they use this frame that I'm going to mention to you. So I want to ask you: is it a correct frame we can supplicate to Allah with, or no? For example, Allahumma atawassal ilayk بحقي أو بجاهي أو بكرامة النبي أو الولي.
That's not intercession. That's not intercession. That's what tawassul has nothing to do with intercession. Keep that to its good time, not now. It's not shafa'a.
Okay, we can change it a little bit. Allahumma inni how can we change it in Arabic? I completely forgot. Okay, so Allahumma inni atawajjah ilayk بحقي أو بجاهي أو بكرامة
أو بمحمد
directly.
Perfectly fine, no problem.
That's okay. Because essentially you are asking Allah.
Shafa'a would be is that you are presenting the Prophet, he is in front of you, say, make shafa'a for me yawm al-qiyamah, meaning make dua to Allah that you will be shafi'a yawm al-qiyamah. That's the meaning, because he is there and he listens to you. You cannot do that when he is absent and dead, because you don't know if he has that will reach him or he can respond to you, say yes or no. But if he's present, you can. Like the Sahabi who said, you have been serving me very well, ask me. He said, I have only one request. I want to be companion you yawm al-qiyamah. So said, anything else? Said no. So Prophet thought a long time and said, then help me with plenty of sujood. You are not intensive in salah. So he waited for wahi, most like when he listened a long time. Yes, grant that to him. That's possible, but you have to address the messenger and he can answer to you yes or no. That's only in his presence. If he's absent, you cannot address that to him, because you don't know, does it reach him or doesn't reach him? Does he know or doesn't know? So in that case, you address Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make Muhammad shafi'a for me. But أتوجه إليك بمحمد, نعم, because Muhammad is wajih, he has rank in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes, and many Sufi scholars, they actually use this to contest with the Wahhabis. They say that one of the Sahabi, I don't know if it's Khalid or not, he says, Allahumma inna tawajjahna wa tawassalna bi Abi Fadl al-Abbas.
That's for the rain. Anyway, that's Wahhabi position about tawassul is wrong and mistaken. But this is not a major issue for them either. It's not a matter of shirk and kufr. They say it bid'ah and so on, they tell us sneak away because they don't understand the issue correctly. If they made a major blunder in the fundamental thing of rububiyyah and uluhiyyah, do you expect them to do tawassul properly?
Yes, because uluhiyyah and rububiyyah is
it's the fundamental one. If you miss this one, then you have missed the train. The train is out of the station. It doesn't matter if you can run out underneath and fall on your face and don't reach him or don't reach him. It's there, but it's out.
So let me translate the correct phrase because some of our audience
that's tawassul. Leave it when we get there. Issue altogether has nothing to do with shafa'a.
Okay, but you're saying for tawassul it is okay to ask Allah.
Yeah, we have a hadith even in that direction. Many hadith.
Yes, you are asking Allah like on the basis of the
haqq or the rank of the prophet,
or by the rank of this prophet or this wali. Yeah. Correct? This is okay. This is permissible.
Yeah, because they have rank. Allah has stated clearly in the Quran they have rank. and you can use that even less. We have a hadith بحق السائلين عليه, because the one who asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have a haqq that Allah respond to them in the way He likes, but He had made it obligatory on Him that I respond to the sa'ilin. The way I respond depends upon the situation of the universe, but I respond to them. So,
or bijah, by the status of
or
this
bijah, or by the status, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's perfectly
Okay.
fine. That's why they were happy blunder, but it's a small blunder. It's not very relevant.
Yes.
Does not solve the problem. So when the Sufi gets with that, they show that they're also as mentally retarded or slightly better than the Wahhabi. But
because they did not get the uluhiyya and rububiyyah correct first.
Yeah, that's no, and also they coming with that as an issue about ibadah and so on is a mistake. Has nothing to do with that. It's completely tawassul.
As long as tawassul dedicated to Allah by the rank, by the status, by whatever of
That's
this
tawassul.
prophet,
Has nothing to
it's
do with
okay.
shafa'a.
Okay, tawassul. Yes. Okay. That's clear, inshallah. Okay, yeah. That was it for me today.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair, barakallah fiqh.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
tawassul is another issue altogether. It's a secondary issue, really. It's not worth really the battle they wage around that. But this is completely secondary. The main problem is this definition of rububiyyah and ilahiyyah, which is catastrophic. Because it undermines the meaning of Quran, undermines the meaning of ibadah, and demolish the meaning, and demolish even the meaning of hakimiyyah and supreme lordship, and with the result that you have someone writing say At-Tawheed أولا ثم الحاكمية. This was the ultimate catastrophe, resulting in ultimate kufr. Because Tawheed for him, then there's no grave and things like that. Such rubbish. Meaning Tawheed and monotheism has been demolished. Monotheism is really only complete if there's no deity except Allah and no commander, and by implication necessity there's no supreme commander except Allah. It doesn't mean hakimiyya. There's no other way.
Yes.
And hakimiyya is a substantial part of that. And even worse, when they say Tawheed, there's 3 branches. Rububiyyah, اللي هي أسماء صفات. أسماء صفات has nothing to do with Rububiyyah, with Tawheed. It studies about the divine attributes, but they want to put it in Tawheed so that if you deviate from the definition of Sifat, they declare you to be mushrik. That's all. Make takfir on that. That's it. Playing the game.
It's part of kalam, essentially, correct?
It's not related to Tawheed. Declaring something called Tawheed, Asma Sifat is nonsense. Is nonsense. It's studies of Asma and Sifat, part of maybe of Aqidah, but part of it at least, and the rest is just rubbish. Putting your nose where it doesn't belong. That's it.
Is it also a blunder of Ibn Taymiyyah? He created this one, or like the followers?
Essentially. It's earlier in the books of Sunnah and so on.
Earlier.
And Tahawiyya and so on. They get. But they have even other blunders there. They're jokers. They turned Aqidah, the Islamic creed, into a circus. And most of these scholars who, especially the one follow more like Ahl Hadith and so on, they are like clowns in a circus. That's it, unfortunately. Very unfortunate to say that, but that's it.
Yes, subhanallah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Yeah.
Anyone else wants to say anything?
But still, Rububiyyah and Uluhiyyah, we'll get to that, and we are just the beginning, or just basic hints. When you come to Shirk al-Arab, we'll get that to ad nauseum, to show the level of ignorance of history, ignorance of the narrations, ignorance of hadith, ignorance how the Shirk al-Arab started. All of this is blatant ignorance, catastrophic ignorance.
Okay.
And of them also.
Yes. So we will continue with this with Tawheed.
Still to come, the majority still to come. We're just in the basic 0 level yet.
Okay, because today we were talking about the prophecy, or the establishment of the
that's we are still at level 0.
Yeah. Okay. So there's more to come. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Great. Alhamdulillah. Yes.
Okay.